All right, ladies and germs, time for the late night boxing talks. We actually have a lot to discuss tonight. We might have to divide this into two separate late night boxing talks between today and tomorrow because there's just a proliferation of news, and I would like to get my own thoughts out as well as discuss it on the panel, just some of this stuff that's going on because a lot of it is very much open to interpretation. One thing I'm definitely going to talk about tonight are the internet trolls. The internet trolls you find on Twitter, the internet trolls you find on YouTube, the internet trolls that like to talk about me, several others, while going out of their way to follow me and keep up with whatever it is I'm saying and whatever it is I'm doing, whatever I think, even though I never mention these people unless they mention me. So there's that to consider. Earlier today, I uploaded two videos addressing the ongoing situation, which really is no situation at all. It's all kind of self-explanatory. The stuff between Vasyl Lomachenko, George Kambosos, Devin Haney, and how that's a straightforward situation. There's not a lot that needs to be deciphered there. It's self-explanatory. We knew ahead of the Kambosos fight that George had a rematch clause. And the rematch clause stipulated that if he loses that fight, Devin not only has to fight him again, but it must be in Australia. So all this stuff that you're seeing about Vasyl Lomachenko ducking Devin Haney, it's absolutely ridiculous. What it is a narrative being spun by guys that are accustomed to lying, and the only people that eat it up are people that want to be lied to, because in reality, Devin is not available to fight Vasyl Lomachenko. And for pointing this out, I got a bit of an adverse reaction from at least two individuals for pointing this out. And I already addressed one in the previous upload that a lot of these guys are devoid of reason and devoid of rationale. They're emotionally driven individuals, and they get mad when adults talk about this kind of stuff because, well, the sign of a fully developed frontal lobe is being able to make things make sense, not being a slave to your emotions, not being hung up on bullshit. You understand? It's a simple situation, fairly straightforward. And a lot of people are trying very hard to make all of that about something that it isn't because they're emotionally attached to these fighters, whereas I'm not. None of these fighters is paying me shit. I don't think that I'm not expecting them to, you know what I mean? So I don't feel the need to defend them per se. I'm just going to stick to the facts, stick to the truth. I'm a straight shooter. That's what I'm going to do. I ain't got no reason to be cheerleading or apologizing. My enthusiasm or my adverse reactions are all genuine. You understand? Now, in one of the videos that I uploaded, I talked about how it didn't make sense to me for Devin Haney to still be talking about Gervonta Davis when Floyd Mayweather made his feelings crystal clear in reference to that fight. He made his feelings clear that he's not going to make that fight. He wants Gervonta Davis, and he wants Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson to leave Gervonta Davis alone. Let him do his thing, whatever the fuck that means. And I feel that Devin's wasting his own time, and really any fighter between 135 and 140, you're wasting your time. You're not going to get that fight. And if you're always doing interviews where Gervonta Davis is a topic of discussion, it's going to start to look like you're chasing him around when in reality, it's the interviewer asking those questions and you're the one answering them. But for what? You're not going to get that fight. For that, appreciate that, Drew. Professional victims. Oh, yeah, I know, right? We're going to talk about that, Drew. Believe you me, we're going to talk about that. I said all that in a video, right? And a guy that goes by the name Bodymore Murderland, which you already know is just a colloquialism for Baltimore, Maryland. A guy, Bodymore Murderland, he didn't like that, so he said I was hating on Tank for pointing that out. And I'm just left wondering, how fucking stupid do you have to be to interpret that as hate? Like, are you retarded? Do you have a learning disability? Are you reading at a 9th grade level? Because all I'm pointing out is what Floyd said, in case you missed it. Floyd told Devin and Shakur to leave Gervonta alone. Ain't that what the fuck he said? Did you not see the screenshot in the video? Do I got to pull it up here? Are you watching right now? You see what the fuck it says, right? It says, don't worry about Tank. He want Devin and Shakur to fight each other. He don't want them to fight Tank. So that when I point that out, you could get in your feelings and call that hate. What about that is hate? Ain't that the truth? Or is it that you guys are so fucking sensitive that you literally cannot handle the truth? You literally can't handle it. When somebody points out reality and the facts, you can't handle it, so it got to be hating. Oh, it's because he's hating. It's not because Floyd actually said that. It's because I'm hating. So we're going to have fun tonight. We're going to have fun talking about these guys tonight. We are. I'm about to open up the chat to the panel, and we could get it rocking. Because, and I've said this before, I don't have tolerance. I don't have the patience for emotional people, because emotional people are useless. If you don't channel those emotions into something productive, what's the point? If all you're going to do when I point out a simple matter of fact, when I'm literally quoting what his promoter said, if all you can do is say, that's hating, don't say anything. Go away. Go away. Go somewhere. Get out of here. Because you're a child. Ivo was good. Drew was good. Jay was good. What's racking?
What's going on? Real quick, Jules, that was some of your best work, that last video with the voices and the enunciation. You should be doing voiceover work, bro. I'm telling you.
I haven't seen it. Damn, I got to watch it.
You watch
it?
No,
it was good. He changed up. He had about 3 or 4 different voices on that last video with Fury.
I did, because it's, as you know, Drew, and I'm sure you're this way too, everybody has a pet peeve. Mine is stupidity. I have a few pet peeves, but one of the ones that I really don't like is stupidity, especially in this day and age when you have access to a wealth of information at any time of day, whenever you decide to do the work. There is no reason to run around uneducated on a subject that you insist on discussing. So if I say that it don't make sense for Devin to call out Gervonta, because Floyd already said he's not trying to do that. He's trying to keep everything in house. If I point that out, how the fuck is that hating? Where's the hate? Ain't that the truth? Or is it that you fucking junkies and morons are so far removed from reality that when you hear the truth spoken, it's like it burns your ears or some shit? There's a quote in the Bible that to a fool, a fool don't like the truth, because if you correct a fool, he gonna be mad at you for it. Where a wise man will adhere your counsel and put it to good use. I feel that applies to a lot of people in this day and age. In this day and age, people don't want the truth. They want to be lied to because they're too fucking sensitive.
Here's the case in point, Jules. When you and Ron Boy brought up the glaring hypocrisy of who's not getting offers from Showtime, and I remember you broke down all the Black American fighters Floyd fought, and then why isn't Tank fighting them too? Like that. Oh no, it was wrong. You're racist. Like when you were just pointing out the facts. You're just pointing out the facts. You kept it to boxing.
You see it though, and it's unfortunate. It's coming from melanated folk like me. But I'll say this: those are people I wouldn't speak to if they were dying, bro. So these people that who play these race narratives, I stay away from those type of people because you can't have a logical conversation with them. It's disgusting.
What I don't like about when they use that as I guess a failsafe is that there is a real issue. It's not that it isn't. Anybody that live in America, like if you denying that that's an issue in America, all right, you're insane because it is a real issue. What I don't like about it is you're misappropriating a real issue and trying to use it to win an argument that you're fucking losing. You're fucking losing the argument.
You water down the real argument.
Yeah.
They're commodifying it. It's a commodifier for them. Commodify just to win an argument, knowing damn well they're wrong. And like they see it, but they're so dysfunctional. Like this is why I'm gonna bring this up. DNA, dysfunctional and annoying. They're so dysfunctional and annoying that even arguing with them, it's a moot point. You just leave these people to their own devices.
Now, this is the funny shit. When it comes to arguing with them, what do I always say? I'm not going to argue. The only opinion I care about is my own. All I'm going to do is give you a platform to speak, make a fool out of yourself, while I make money off of you making a fool out of yourself, because I don't give a shit about your boxing. You know, not you, you know what I mean? In general, I don't really care about anybody's opinion but mine. There are only a few opinions I hold in high esteem to where I will consider them, but at its base, the only opinion I care about is mine. I don't give a shit about anybody else's opinion about boxing or anything, to be honest.
The issue, Jules, that again, I was watching this shit unfold. It was beautiful. There was no argument to be had. He just kind of made statements about race out of nowhere, because like nowhere in the like, bro, I really wish you would have said something actually racist, so he could have actually had a point to make. But there was nothing. There was nothing to be made.
Of course not. And he's acting as if I was bashing Devin.
Exactly, especially since he must have not seen the fucking videos leading up to the Devin Haney versus.
It's by proxy, bro. It's by proxy. They naturally assume that if you don't agree with everything they say, oh, you must be this, you must be that. Bro, I was rooting for Devin to win that fight. What the fuck are you talking about?
And you're not a Lomachenko shill, because you pretty much said it before. You know, he's not the best thing since sliced bread. It's not true. So, you know, that's why I don't get it. I didn't get where the argument, like...
There was no argument.
Exactly.
See, Ivo, this is what it was, Ivo. Because he could not refute the facts, the most that he could do was lay a guilt trip. Oh, this is the part where I don't say anything because this subject is too taboo for me to say it. Nah, you can't lay a guilt trip for me because I'm innocent. The fuck are you talking about? You're not going to say all that bullshit and I'm going to feel some type of way about it. My history isn't here, bro. Whatever the fuck you're talking about has abso-fucking-lutely nothing to do with me.
And for someone as chivalrous as he made himself out to be, he sure as shit did a lot of race baiting with literally every other comment in the section. He commented on my shit. He commented on literally like every other comment. He replied with something relating to race, even though there was no valid point. When a comment said, I like Haney. Oh, so that means it must mean you hate Wilder. Like, what kind of... You see... You draw these conclusions out of nothing.
Exactly. Go ahead.
So who is this corny motherfucker doing this?
It's 2 uploads ago. It's the one with Lomachenko on the cover. It's a guy named I Am Billy D, right? And basically what I pointed out is how Boxing Ego is lying to his subscribers. That's what I pointed out, that you trying to make it seem like Loma had the option to fight Devin later on this year when he doesn't. Devin's spoken for. His fight is already booked October 16th in Australia. That's done. And we knew that if he beats George, he's going to have to fight him again if George decides to exercise his rematch clause, which he did. So Devin has to fight him again. So there's no debate to be had in reference to Lomachenko having a tune-up fight and what Devin is doing. There is no debate. They can't fight unless George steps aside. That's the only way it happens. There is no debate. And that's what I was pointing out. I didn't bash Devin, didn't say anything negative about Devin at all. All I said was this is bullshit because Devin has to fight George. That's it. And to that, you know, an individual took it upon himself to say that I was hating on the young black fighter and hating on the black content creator, not knowing me and Boxing Ego have more in common in terms of lineage than him and Boxing Ego. Because Boxing Ego is a Spanish dude after all.
I never knew that.
Boxing
yes,
Ego
he is.
Spanish?
He's Spanish, but he's a cocksucker though. But he is a Spanish dude.
Oh, that guy's fake. Fuck, bro.
In the great words of my granddad, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I don't give a shit either because to me, this is the thing that I love about American culture, right? Well, I'm being sarcastic. In American culture, they always promote this thing about a code in communities, right? There's only one code: survival of the fittest. Every man for himself. That's the code. Take away everyone else of every other denomination, and let's just say it's just guys like me, right? Among other guys like me. Okay, we're gonna fight for land, for food, for women. We're all gonna eat each other. It's human nature. There is no code. There is no code. The code is survival of the fittest. In the animal kingdom, that's what the fuck it is. If there's a scarcity of food, the animals ain't gonna fight amongst themselves for food, for land, for women. They are. That's the only code. That's the only universal code. So this idea that, oh, well, you have to fall, I don't have to fall in line with shit Unless you giving me money or something, I'm not loyal to you or anybody like you, and I don't have to be. And the idea that you walk through life thinking that people have to be loyal to you in any arena, that just shows how weak you are because you're depending on them to help you. You cannot do it on your own. You're weak.
I think the one argument that I saw, really not really an argument, more like a statement that's like a falsity in its nature, is comparing the Lomachenko situation and Devin Haney to Usyk and Joshua, when we both know it's fucking garbage. It's a garbage comparison to make because they literally fought each other now, and they're only fighting each other again because of a rematch clause.
All the common sense. Look, if you notice, all the common sense in the quote unquote discussion is removed because he cannot rebuttal what's being said. George doesn't want to fight. Devin doesn't want to fight George again. I'm pretty sure he doesn't. He beat him in one-sided fashion. He beat him. Bob doesn't want to do that fucking rematch, but George has a right to a rematch. Nobody is crazy about that fight, but it's happening anyway. Why?
No one wants a legal headache.
Exactly. Devin doesn't want to get sued, obviously.
Jules, it's been funny the last, I want to say 50 hours or so between you and then Cali X's video that got everybody's panties in a bunch. When the hilarious thing is, we're just dealing in facts, but it's indicative of what the studies show about America, and like people don't even read at a fucking 9th grade level anymore.
They don't.
So the intelligence and the ability to figure stuff out is lost on them.
More importantly, individuality is promoted a lot in this country, when in reality, that's an illusion. A lot of these people are sheep. They don't want to have to think, because even thinking for themselves seems like hard work. You think it's hard to read a 2-minute boxing scene article to know what's going on? Is that hard for you?
Well, Jules, you got to remember, man, when you only got 3 neurons in your brain, man, it's very hard to make it go, man.
It's wild to me. So that happened, and I addressed that, and I had fun doing it. As Drew stated, I have fun addressing someone that's that fucking stupid because it's easy. I don't have to make you look stupid. You did that. All I got to do is point it out. They're like, yo, this is
I came on Twitter yesterday. I'm like, oh, everybody's what the fuck? I'm like, man, I'm busy making money. I go on trips, bro, I don't like to deal with inferior intelligence. I really don't. I like to be around people that choir, bro. You singing. I like to be around people that are smarter than me, so I can fucking learn something.
That's and well, I am going to toot my own horn. Why not? I've always been that way. I need to hear different ideas to get a full picture. That's why I don't play sides. I'm unbiased, or I try to be, because you're never going to get the full picture being too far to one side. Like, dog, it's not Devin's fault. I'm not saying it's Devin's fault. I'm saying he has somebody else to fight. What's the argument?
We know
he
what
has
side
someone
it is.
else he has to fight.
We know what side it is, though.
Matter of fact, I'm on the side of money. Because I'll be goddamn if I'm arguing with these retards for free.
Amen. Say that again, Jules.
Jules is from Detroit when it's Alicia, though.
Stop that shit. Stop that shit.
Jules from Detroit. What up, though?
You know what I'm saying? It's common sense has really been, I think, removed from the American populace, because the more I just sit back and observe the behaviors of these people, it's like, yo, dog, Americans don't want to be wrong about nothing anymore. Unless you're willing to admit you're wrong, you don't make any progress. You don't go nowhere. Good.
I'm sorry for cutting you off. But
go ahead.
There's a point to be made, though. If you don't know something, then just don't say anything.
That's literally what I do whenever somebody's saying something. And when I said it, when Beats talks about old matchups from way back when I wasn't as big a boxing fan, why would I be rebuttaling? Why would I retort? I just shut the fuck up and listen. See, it seems like to me, it used to seem like that's common sense, but apparently it's not. And it's not.
Just like this. One of my OGs said this: when I don't know a subject or anything, I drink a tall, cool glass of shut the fuck up. And now back to what you were saying about code. Their code is this. Hey, irrespective of what it is, you're going to be on this side because you're supposed to be on the side because of affiliations and skin color. When it's completely a farcical code that these people conveniently use when it's their time to use it. You understand? All that shit is convenience.
Yeah, I mean,
I harken back to a Bruce Lee quote where he's like, "A wise man can learn more from a foolish question than a fool can learn from a wise answer."
Yeah. I mean, I'll put it this way. All that loyalty shit, right? I've always thought that's all bullshit. You shouldn't trust anyone as far as you can throw them. Because if you take away what they use to divide us as individuals, let's just say they took everybody that's different from me away, right? And it's just a group of guys like me. And it's just a community of people like me. Oh, they're not going to fight? Yes, they're going to fight. They're going to fight over land. They're going to fight over food. They're going to fight over women. They're going to fight over precious minerals and resources. So loyalty in reality, all that shit is fake, my guy. So the idea that there's this special fucking code, that's a joke, dog. Only weak people need a code. If you need a code,
I got a question. Could I ask a question?
If you need a code, you weak, fam. Which, like, you really dependent on somebody else to help you? Like, really? Go ahead, Jay.
Like, when did this code shit start? I mean, has this? Because I knew this wasn't around back in the 80s, 90s for damn sure. This seems to be post 2000, 2010 shit. Am I correct?
I mean, it's a fleeting sense of solidarity bred by, I'm not even going to say extremists, because extremists exhibit strength in their actions. These are not extremists. These are not activists. These are guys on their fucking phones that are one Twitter comment away from crying.
Mm-hmm.
Really, if we talk about extremists, there are extremists in the world who believe their beliefs enough that they're willing to do a lot of shit. That's not these guys. They don't believe what they're saying because they're not willing to do anything. So I can't even say that they're extremists. I just think that you a pseudo activist. You're not a for real activist. You're not really out there on the front lines getting it done for you ain't doing shit. You complaining.
And you can go even further, Jules. They complain and want to be a victim so much that it's obvious they don't got nothing going on in their professional life.
Yeah, I agree with that.
This much time.
When you're doing well, you don't have time to make excuses or reason when you're doing well. And that applies to every man, woman, and child on this little blue miserable fucking planet. When you're doing what you need to do and achieving the desired result based on the work that you put in, that's when you realize it's all on you. It's not on your neighbor. It's not on them. It's not on your cousin, your brother, your mom, your mother, your aunt. No, it's everything you get out of life. It's all on you. And if you're succeeding, the people that succeed, I feel that, they come to realize that it's my own effort that gets me where I want to go. Not a code, not someone else. No, it's my own effort that gets me where I want to go. Whereas if you see a guy talking this code book, fam, you just weak and you waiting for somebody to help you. That's what that shit is. A code. This motherfucker's killing each other all the time. What the fuck are you talking about, fam?
Bro, he was desperately looking for someone to side with him, man. Bro, he was fucking desperate looking for someone to aid him, and he just didn't find it.
If I go to the Dominican Republic, hold on. If I go to the Dominican Republic right now, you gonna tell me it ain't a Dominican shooting another Dominican over there? You're lying. If I were Puerto Rican and I went to Puerto Rico, you gonna tell me ain't none of the Puerto Ricans killing each other? They are. I'm a New Yorker. It's not New Yorkers killing each other? Nah, they are. That loyalty shit is bullshit, fam. And if you think that that's supposed to be a guilt trip, the code, all you communicating is you weak, fam. Code. Fight for yourself. Fend for yourself. Stop waiting on somebody to protect you. Shelton was good.
What's going on, family? How y'all doing today?
Chilling, man. Couple of good subjects I want to mull over before we're done talking about the internet trolls and the silly comments that I received. Silly fucking comments.
I get it. Believe me.
It's like, I don't know how you could have a plan to get anywhere in life with that mentality. I literally, who fucking raised you, bro? Because you're not going to get nowhere with that mentality. I'm telling you, not.
No, it's all about what you do for you, man. I used to run the streets and do a whole lot of shit, right? But I was never able to turn it around and get to a place where I could actually protect and provide and do the things I'm supposed to do until I stopped blaming everybody else for the shit that I was creating. You know what I'm saying? I tell people this all the time. There's a lot of people. There are people that are in jail right now because they were falsely accused. I'm not going to deny that. There are
That
people.
is the truth. That's the truth. A lot.
But most people, at least in the penitentiaries that I was in, I'll speak for myself. I can't speak for nobody else. When I went to jail, I was usually somewhere I wasn't supposed to be, doing some shit I wasn't supposed to be doing. That's usually how it happens.
I'll say that in New York, like I'm just not never gonna like police, just not never, and that's just based on actual shit that happened. And to your point, which is true, there's a lot of people that are in jail right now that should not be. There's a lot of people that are in jail that should not be, but there are also a lot of people that put themselves there. That's just the truth. And the people that are falsely accused, that doesn't change that. Like, yo, you get yourself to where you're going a lot of the time. You do get yourself to where you're going a lot of the time. And it's simple. There are no excuses. You think you have it bad? Go to some of these African countries on the African continent and you'll see what bad really is. You think you have it bad. You have no idea. You really don't. And America is breeding this mentality to where you just got to throw yourself a pity party all the time. Like, fam.
Entitlement.
Not just Africa, bro. Go to India. Go to India.
Go south of the border. Go to Mexico and see some of the liberty they got. Go to the Caribbean. Go to the Caribbean and go to Haiti. It's insane that the state of that country is so impoverished in this modern day and age when we have so much and have so many resources.
Bro.
When you go to these places, leave the resort. Don't stay on the resort. Leave the resort.
Oh, matter of fact, if you want to go home, don't leave the resort.
Don't do that. If you are
I'll go even further. I'll go even further. Imagine being in a prison in one of these countries.
Yo, man,
no.
If you are in any other country in the world and you want to become rich or a millionaire, you're gonna have to work 20 times harder than what you would work here to work to get it here. Like it's, you know how you can tell that it's worse over there because it's them trying to come over here. It's not y'all trying to go over there.
Exactly.
If it was really that good over there, you would be trying to go over there. Not them.
Put it this. I see Jay-Z, right? And that, Jay, when I was young, he was the dude. He put a lot of his mans in them on. Beanie Siegel, Memphis Bleak, a lot of guys, right? And it's like, yo, dog, he put the bread in your pocket and y'all faded because y'all didn't do nothing with what y'all had. Whereas he continued he continued to hustle, continued to excel. It is not his fucking job to carry all of you on his back. At some point, you got to get up and do your own shit. So if cats start fading in the background, they ain't making this. That's on you, fam. You a grown ass man. You got to do it for yourself. Can't make excuses. Can't.
That's a fact. That is a fact. But
motherfucking 50 and G Unit. 50 kept finding different ways, which is why that's one of the few people that I actually admire a little bit. That 50 ain't stick to the same old shit. As soon as he got a segue to do some other shit outside of the music shit, which in the music industry, you're always on borrowed time because the sound changes. The normal sound. East Coast might have had it for a while. Then the South might have had it for a while. Then the West might have got it real quick. Then it went back to the South. You're always on borrowed time as a musician because the overall sound changes over time. And he, unlike his contemporaries, found something else to do. You're supposed to do that. Movement is life. In a battlefield, in life, movement is life. You got to move on.
How do you think Snoop Dogg became a $150, $160 million dude?
Exactly.
He kept changing. He kept evolving. He kept up with the times.
And to that point, go ahead, Virtuoso.
Listen, was it on code when a known hater wished death upon a son of a legendary trainer?
Wow.
For a fighter that wanted to change and innovate his style while the other one didn't?
Yeah. That was crazy. That was crazy. That was just retarded.
Who was Jeff and who?
Yeah, I don't recall.
I'm not even gonna mention his name because he ain't worth it.
No,
Because
go
he
ahead.
got a
Mention
But
his name.
he
but
was
I'm gonna
deaf
say
on
this:
Sugar
he
Hill.
got a
He was
hairline that
deaf
if
on
it was
Sugar
Nah,
Hill.
if
say
his
his
head
name.
was the hold on,
Mention
let
the
me say
name, man.
this.
Curious now.
That dude got a hairline. Yo, if his fucking head was the
Oh,
earth,
you
I say it'd
talking
be.
about
I,
Billy Blanks? You talking about Billy
yeah,
Blanks?
his hair is pushing the
Yeah,
fucking
that
artist
kid.
circle.
That kid. The kid from the
That type of
Bronx,
hairline.
Jules. The kid from the
You
Bronx,
talking
Jules.
about Billy Blanks?
Yeah.
And the
Come
funny
on,
shit
man.
is, I honestly feel like I used to, when I was young and I didn't know any better, I honestly used to believe in that shit. And then I used to see motherfuckers backstab each other all the time. And then I realized, all that shit is bullshit, bro. All that code shit, it's all bullshit, bro.
Julius.
If you leave any group of individuals to their own devices, I don't care what group it is or where they're from, if you isolated that group from everyone else, they would still fight. They would still kill themselves and kill each other. So that code shit, that's all bullshit. All of it.
Jules.
Well, a lot of that stuff comes from the pen, man. A lot of the street
Well, you know,
culture.
No, not even. Nah, Frank. Hold on. Let Frank talk.
go ahead,
I ain't
Frank.
going to say come from the pen because even in the beginnings of our civilizations, right, before human beings became seafaring individuals, right, they were fighting amongst themselves. You know what I mean? They were. Vikings fighting other Vikings for territories until they expanded and started seeing different people and used that as an excuse to fight with them. At the end of the day, if you leave people, any group of people, I don't care where they're from, if you leave them to their own devices, they will eat each other. That's the way it's always been. So the idea that there's a code, there is code. There ain't no solidarity. There's one code in life. Every man for himself. It's survival of the fittest. It ain't never been different.
The rational
Well, you know,
self-interest.
these dudes that are talking all this code shit, you know, that's the difference between certain channels and other channels is that they speak into an echo chamber. You know that, right?
Yeah, that's why I hopped on. But go ahead.
Yeah, they speak into an echo chamber, bro. They speak it to people who are they're feeding people this garbage, and these people are sucking it up and actually giving them money to listen to this bullshit.
Well, I used
Yeah,
to.
it's like a giant feedback loop of propaganda.
Yeah, exactly.
I used to try to wrap my mind around why somebody would want somebody else lying to them, and the conclusion that I came to is you want it to be okay for you to be a failure. You want it to be okay for you to not do shit and feel sorry for yourself. That's what that shit is.
Ignorance is bliss. Come on now.
It really is though. It's never my fault. It's always someone else. It's never my fault. It's always somebody
And
else.
the funny thing is, every empire is filled with people like that because people just want to be led. There's people that don't want to put in work in every prehistoric era of man since we've become civilized. There's always going to be people that you have to feed. There's always going to be people that you have to coddle. And there's always going to be people that need to be led. There's not just, it's the balance in the universe won't work if everybody is trying to be a conqueror.
That's how street gangs are formed. It's just people want to belong. They're not getting at home what they're missing, you know, but they're not getting at home. They're gonna seek in the streets.
I agree with that because that is how it happens. You notice that when there's a strong male figure in the household to guide the boy, because one thing about young men or young boys, they got a lot of energy. And if you don't give them nothing to put that energy into, whether it's a craft or a sport, it tends to go bad. It tends to become toxic, which is when, you know, they go in the streets, they do crazy shit, looking for approval and validation. And once again, that's not exclusive to one group. That's all boys all over the planet because they all do it in different countries around. They all do it.
Exactly.
Because
And the one thing that young boys do crave,
there's no rite of passage for boys to become men anymore.
Yeah, because you bring up
the
the
one thing that
tribalism.
young
Yeah,
boys do crave,
that's what.
fellas, they do crave discipline. If young men crave discipline, they need discipline. Discipline will take you. Structure and discipline will take you farther than anything.
Which is why certain themes that get brought up, especially when it comes to 80s babies, because we were a generation, at least around where I lived, we were a generation that for the most part didn't grow up with our fathers. So the absence of a male figure can lead to some of the bitch assness. But the reason I don't say it's an excuse is because, well, I know a lot of guys that didn't grow up with their dad and they ain't bitches. Far from it.
And I know a lot of guys that grew up with their dads as fucking jerk offs and fucking losers.
That too. So I'm like, man, I don't know, man. So let's get into some boxing talk. This ideological discussion. The IBF very recently made a curious move where initially they ordered an IBF eliminator between Subriel Matias and Jeremiah Ponce. Today it was announced that they've ordered the fight between Jeremiah Ponce and Josh Taylor, who we all know is in negotiations for a Catterall rematch. Does it seem to any of you that perhaps the IBF is applying a lot of pressure to a lot of people that perhaps they shouldn't?
It looks like they're applying. It looks like the people that left the WBA and that were partial to Heyman are now applying pressure at the IBF to people that aren't with Heyman. Because why hasn't Errol spent? When's the last time Errol gave an IBF fucking title defense?
I wanted to bring up Errol because we know that Errol, he hasn't satisfied a mandatory in approximately 4 years for the IBF. But we also know that there have been extenuating circumstances, the car accident, the absence of a mandatory after the Lipinets versus, who did he fight, man? Castillo Clayton, that it was ruled a draw. That was supposed to be an IBF eliminator to crown a mandatory, and that delayed the process also. But then you look at junior middleweight. Murtazaliev has been the mandatory since 2019. Why are they not on Jermel Charlo ass to fight him? Are they stripping him? Are they stripping Spence? But you see that Josh Taylor, who has satisfied a mandatory for the IBF in the last 3 years, he has. In 2020, he fought Apinum Konsong. That was his mandatory. Why are you on his ass?
How fast did they strip Canelo and Triple G at the IBF, Jules?
Exactly. Yeah. As soon as they ordered the Sergey Derevianchenko fight, they could not reach a deal, at which point the IBF moved to strip him almost immediately. But you see that other fighters are getting a level of consideration that is almost obscene, because it's not like Errol doesn't have a mandatory. He literally has one. You don't hear about the IBF bothering him, whether I'm cool with it or not, because of the Crawford fight, obviously. But whether I'm cool with it or not, they're not bothering him. So why y'all bothering Taylor if y'all know he in the process of doing another fight?
So could we say the PBC and the IBF are playing footsie with each other now? Officially?
I mean, it really. I think it is.
I just think they're getting the envelope from somebody.
All right, go ahead.
Well, we all know. That these rankings and these sanctioning bodies can be manipulated. You know that.
All right, go ahead, JBN.
Didn't you say a couple months ago that you had heard or you had a source that some people from the WBA went to the IBF?
That's what I was told. That's certain that when the ABC Commission was applying pressure on the WBA over the Gloria Rizzo fight, who they did not fire, by the way, and I've been pointing that out for months, that they didn't fire Gloria Rizzo, right? And that they didn't fire her, bro. She's still officiating fights.
Was she the one who scored the Michael Fox Maestre fight?
Yep.
That's all right. Okay, yeah. All right.
So
they
just gave those people from the WBA that went over there are now concluding without Heyman, because obviously they had to have some relationship with him before they went over there.
That's what I believe is going on. That's literally what I believe is going on, because the IBF not that long ago, they didn't used to be this way. The IBF used to order mandatories like clockwork. You could set your watch by an IBF mandatory, whereas now, how could Errol not have satisfied a mandatory for 4 years? And if you say the car accident, and all right, well, what about Murtazaliev at 154? What about that? That dude been a mandatory since before the pandemic.
When Fury beat Klitschko, IBF was the first belt that stripped Fury.
Exactly. When Bernard Hopkins, was it Bernard Hopkins? Yeah, I think it was Bernard.
Yeah. We rematched Jermaine. They stripped him too.
Exactly. And they stripped him immediately. So how does all of a sudden the IBF, they only order mandatories when it's not PBC fighters? When it's not PBC fighters, they'll definitely order a mandatory.
Angels, I got a question for you, man.
Good.
Hypothetically, let's say the Crawford v. Spence fight doesn't materialize, because in my opinion, man, I'm starting to get really doubtful on that fight. Let's say it doesn't materialize. How much you want to bet he's not going to face a mandatory?
I don't think he is for a second. If you're Errol Spence Jr., not saying that I think he's going to win, but if you're Errol and you beat Crawford in the biggest fight that you could have had at welterweight, because there are no other big fights at welterweight, not right now, unless you stick around long enough for Virgil to become a draw, which could take time. Because, you know, Ortiz versus Spence, that would be a big fight in Texas. It could be in a year, you know what I mean? But if you're Spence, you fight in the biggest fight you can make at this moment, and you actually win, why would you stay at welterweight? For
There's
what?
a lot of threats coming up.
Brother, you're wrong though, because he will face a mandatory in Keith Thurman. That's why they moved him to number one.
Yep.
But by
Bro,
all
he
rights,
said never ever.
but by all rights, the WBC don't have next in the rotation. They don't have next. Remember, the first belt that Errol Spence Jr. won was which one?
IBF.
Hey, Jules, you misheard me. You misheard me. I think maybe my accent got in the way. I said if the fight doesn't materialize, what do you think is going to happen? Because in my opinion, I'm getting very pessimistic on that fight actually happening. If I'm being honest with you.
I mean, I'm with you as far as understanding the pessimism, but due to the desperation of the situation, I believe that it will happen because Showtime needs that fight to happen.
You think next year, or do you think this year? How do you think?
Honestly, I believe this year. I believe this.
I also think though, Jules, like you said, I think Al just wants to get that Thurman pay-per-view over with, and it don't matter what Errol says.
No, because look, I mean, let's say to Ivo's point, if Crawford doesn't happen, if that fight doesn't happen, what do I think the PBC will opt to do? They'll move heaven and earth to put Thurman in the ring with Spence, if that's the question. But do I think it's going to happen that way? No, I believe they're going to do the fight now. They have to do the fight now because the year is ending. Drew, you know how this works. Annual budget. We got to spend money on boxing next year. We have to have something to show them, and we don't have anything to show them. This year, 2022, right? What was Showtime's big fights to get a good budget next year? Well, what?
Saddle.
It wasn't a big fight. It should have been a big fight, but
it was supposed to be Jake Paul.
The unification was the biggest fight they had. Really. That was the unification, and it didn't even sell out in LA, bro. It didn't even sell out here.
If we're talking about the Charlo Castano rematch, good numbers for that fight. Very good numbers for that fight on the Showtime network, the regular network, right?
Right.
That's one fight. How you gonna compete with all of ESPN's content, boxing content, and all of DAZN's boxing content, and all you've had to show for it so far is Charlo versus Castano?
And I made that point to you, Jules. We're 8.5 months into the year, and that's their biggest fight.
Literally. What else have they done this year that was big?
Bro. They're killing his buzz too by not bringing him back before the end of the year and bringing him back till 2023.
Well, to be honest, they did give us Brandon Figueroa versus Stephen Fulton.
Oh wait, y'all gave us Danny Garcia versus Jose Benavidez.
And you know what? That Wilder fight is coming back on Fox, not Showtime.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I actually mentioned that in the video that I did talking about the subject, that where Wilder comes back is a little bit important because unlike some other people, I think his return will do good at the box office just because he's coming back. And whether or not it's a success really all depends on what you spend to get him in the ring. But better still, I think, people are going to watch that fight or they're going to buy it. I think it could do between $325,000 and $400,000. So you could actually get a successful pay-per-view out of that. But the important part is, where does it happen? Because Showtime needs those metrics. Fox, my understanding is, regardless of whatever, they're on their way out. Regardless of whatever, they're on their way out.
You got to remember this. Fox #1 is a news network.
Yep.
They're a news network. That's what they care about. But they also have the NFL. They have Major League Baseball. They have college football, college basketball. Boxing is an afterthought. If there's something good, we might spend a little money on it, but we really don't care.
Marcos Villegas' tweet kind of confirmed what I thought, or at least, no, it didn't confirm it. It's worse than I thought, because what I thought Fox was doing was like giving them a little bit of money to spend on production. Like, all right, well, here, this is the most we're willing to spend. What Marcos Villegas said about Fox is they're not giving them any money. The production value and the production of a show PBC show that happens on Fox, that's coming from the PBC. They spending their money to do that. Fox ain't even so if you send Andy out there, right, and he gets, let's say, 500,000 up front or $1 million up front, well, they ain't get it from Fox. I thought he was getting his guarantee from Fox, at least, like, we'll give you $1 million or we'll give you $5. Nah, not even that. They're not spending no money. So it's worse than I thought. And that really, to me, confirms at least that they're leaving boxing, bro. Next year, they may not be in boxing. Even if Wilder's return yields a return, big deal. You think Fox is strapped for cash? They're not. Just like
Fox.
How could they be strapped for cash? They just spent $7 billion for the rights to the NFL.
Exactly.
They just spent $7 billion
and they know they're going to get a return on that.
Yes.
They know they're going to get a
one of
return
those
on
years. The problem was that they signed the PBC not knowing what the scam was, and they thought they were going to get similar returns to when they had the UFC.
Yeah. They sold them a bill of goods, and essentially because the people at Fox, and I said this, Bill Wenger, he knows even less about boxing than Stephen Espinoza. You know, he probably had a Tom Brown or maybe Tim Smith or just one of those guys over there as the point man, feeding him bullshit that, oh, let's spend money on this because this is a great fight. No, the fuck it ain't. No, it's not. What? Ruiz versus Areola is a pay-per-view. What? Why would we spend money on that?
And they sold it too, Jules. Like,
Martin versus what was it? Martin versus
fighters.
Ortiz.
We got 300 fighters. Like Dana White had 300 with the UFC. We'll fit right in with the content. You'll have monthly fights. The ratings will be great. I can hear that pitch.
It's ridiculous.
Man, literally. Said,
now let me ask a question. Let me ask a question right quick. Who was the moron that said, "I know what we'll do. We'll schedule a pay-per-view. Charles Martin versus Luis Ortiz on January 1st. Right in the middle of all the bowl games."
Bruh, like I said, Bill Wenger, if Bill Wenger, see, I'll give Stephen Espinoza this much credit. He knew that Ortiz versus Wilder 2, we're not going to spend no money on that. Mostly because, well, you just gave Wilder a fuck ton of money for a fight that wasn't worth that in the Brazil fight just to keep him off of the zone. Better still, he at least had the foresight to know that this is a money pit. We can't spend money on this. Whereas Fox, nobody over there knows the business it looks like to say that we're not going to spend money on this, or they didn't upon the inception of the deal. But once they started seeing the metrics, they're like, fam, we're not getting nothing out of this shit. That's when they decided to take them off the teat. Like, nah, fam, we ain't going to spend no more money on no inside PBC shoulder programming. That's one. And two, we ain't just going to throw money at your fighters due to their overinflated purse demands. You're not worth that if you can't bring it back. Like, I'm not one of these bleeding hearts that think you're supposed to get a fighter everything just because of your fighter. I'm sorry. This is a business, fam. If we give you money, you're supposed to bring that back.
Hey,
That's
Jules,
how it works.
Jules, did you say Bill Wenger?
Oh, yeah, I seen him.
No, did you actually say that name? Is that somebody's actual name?
Oh, you literally, yeah, that's his name. White guy, red hair, little, average looking white guy.
Okay.
His name is Wenger, though.
No. If you look at him, Jay, he looked like a Bill Wenger.
Like if your mental image of a Bill Wenger is Bill Wenger.
Oh, I gotta look this guy up now. I gotta see what it looks like.
Yeah, he be wanging, bro. Bill Wenger be wanging.
But he's a lot smarter. But he's a lot smarter than some.
Now he is, because he realized, he looked at those metrics for whatever programming they did do. It's like, look, Fox is a big enough network. See, $1 million on Showtime is actually a little bit impressive if you can do that on a premium cable network. But because Fox is more accessible to people who don't even have cable, like in New York, you don't need cable to watch Fox. You just need the box or whatever that shit is. In some states, you just get Fox, whereas in other states, like the one I'm in, you got to have cable or something going on. In any event, Fox you have more access to Fox than any other network, depending on the state. So Caleb Plant doing 1 million views on Fox, that ain't shit. We could put Seinfeld reruns on and do more views than that. You got to get, and it looks to me like Fox found out quickly that we're not getting anything out of this deal. We're not getting anything.
And that's why I push back on Wenger being Wenger being smart, because you don't make a deal like that without looking at the data of what they've been selling in Gates, their whole their books. He clearly didn't.
But you got to remember, he
and,
didn't make the deal. You got to remember, he didn't make the deal. He sent somebody else to make the deal. And when he looked at it, he's like, "Oh no, this is a shit deal.
Yeah,
kill it."
And that's a lot of these guys are a lot of these mid-level executives in television and film are really stupid. That's why that industry has so much turnover. They're really dumb. They just delegate, and then when they screw up, it's like fuck. Then they move from network to network.
At the inception of that deal, you could see how he got fooled, because you had a fledgling platform in the zone offering one fighter, $100 million. So if you're a Bill Wenger and you're going into this deal, you're thinking, oh, we're getting value. We're getting premium fight, because these were his words, premium content. These were his words. There's a Boxing Scene article where they sit down with Bill and they talk about certain elements of the deal, that they want to do 4 to 5 pay-per-views annually, yada, yada, yada. And in there, that's where he says that, oh, we're going to get premium content. This is right around the time that DAZN offered Wilder the $100 million. So in your mind, you're thinking, oh my God, these fighters are worth so much money, not realizing DAZN was paying to play. Wilder's not worth $100 million. He's not worth $30 million, bro.
It was all, and it's that podcast episode he was on Chris Mannix's pod where he went into detail. Remember, Jules?
I remember that. I remember that. And it's like, I think Wilder, if I had to put a value on Wilder, that's a safe value. I would put Wilder's value at around 15 million to maybe 20, depending on the opponent. That a network, like let's say Fox were to give Wilder a guarantee for the Hellenius fight. You could give Wilder, I'd say, 15 million, and he could bring that back. Because yes. 325,000 pay-per-view buys plus whatever the gate does. He can bring you back
where he is right now, and it's only because of the comeback angle.
Yes,
that's the heavy promotional push. Can he come back?
That's saying that you spend the
15.
Go ahead.
His next fight would have to be with somebody with a name, though.
And this is the point that I'm making. If you give him the 15 now for the comeback fight, he can bring you that back. But that doesn't mean that moving forward, you're going to keep getting 15 for any old body. No, the next fight, it has to be somebody good, because if you want 15, you got to pay to play. Now, I think, ideally, if Wilder, he comes back, he fights Hellenius, he knocks him out the way I think he'd knock him out, the logical fight to make is the Ruiz fight. If Ruiz beats Ortiz, because you could do okay with that fight. And I don't mean great, I mean okay. Between 325 and 4, you can do okay. So you have to operate on the assumption that this pay-per-view is going to do somewhere between 300,000 and 400,000.
I'm actually very excited for Wilder's return for 2 reasons. One, I want to see how he looks after a hiatus and his mental expeditions with the mushrooms. And for a second reason, I want to see how, because you remember Fury, man, his fans were rabid. Yeah. I'm excited to see how those fans, if they've been defanged. I'm actually very excited for the interaction.
No, it's all gonna
wait, stop. Hold on. How were they rabid? This motherfucker fought. He defended his title in his hometown. He defended his title in his hometown and didn't sell out the venue. How were they rabid?
Yeah, but it's the same idea. It's the vocal minority. It's the vocal minority that will ruin it for the majority. You're going to have the same 15 fuckwads who go around comparing him to, literally the greats of... He's practically Lennox Lewis. He fought 90-year-old Ortiz.
Let's put it this way. Let's just put it this way. In order to escape reality, these individuals doctored up an entire conspiracy so that they would not have to face the music.
Ah, yes, Glovegate.
Right? So when you're dealing with individuals that don't have that compass for where I'm just wrong, I was wrong, and they can just admit that, because them cats can't admit that, when he comes back, it's the reset button, bro. It all starts over again. Don't be surprised if Glovegate videos come out again. Don't be surprised. It's all going to start over. So I don't really know if it's a good thing that he's coming back, I don't know if it's a good thing.
I'm interested.
And you know
to see
why?
the
And
reaction.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Can
I'm
I
gonna
ask
watch
Cam
it.
a question?
Go ahead, Frank. Hold on, Frank ain't said nothing.
No, I just said I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch Wilder. Why not?
All right. Can I ask a question?
Good.
Do you guys honestly think these dullards are going to buy Wilder Helenius on pay-per-view? Do you really think they're going to spend the $80 on that?
They're going to stream it.
No, let me say this. When I talk about who's going to purchase this pay-per-view, right? I'm not talking about those people on Twitter. Wilder has almost crossed over. Almost. He has. That's like and y'all know I'm not crazy about Wilder, but being real, the guy who showed that he had the most potential to cross over, not saying that he did, but has the most potential, it is Wilder. With a little bit of music and a little bit of cues and a promo, you get back 300,000 or 400,000 pay-per-view buys. And that's all right for this shitty era. That's all right. If you keep the operational cost low, that's saying this. Remember, the first Fury versus Wilder fight, they only paid $7 million in guaranteed purses. It wasn't no crazy shit. So apply that formula to Wilder where like, look, Wilder, we got 7 for you, bro. And you can make money from the upside, but what we got for you up front is 7. Helenius, here's $1 million and go get knocked out because ain't nobody else trying to get you $1 million right now. Who?
So I guarantee you.
But that's precisely why I don't buy the potential of this pay-per-view. It's because of his dance partner. It's not Tyson Fury where a bunch of UK fans are also going to try and buy the pay-per-view. It's fucking Robert Helenius.
I agree that
it's another big guy. It's another big white guy that got some. It's not even the opponent, y'all. Y'all missing the point. It's can he come back? Did Fury really damage him that bad to where he can't come back? That's the angle that this fight is going to be promoted at, and you'll get the casual fan. Because the trilogy was so popular with like the Mike Wilbons and the First Take sports pundits, it will get enough push to where it'll get 300,000 buys.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Because I got a homie from Compton. You guys underestimate. You know, he streams if Virgil was fighting, he'd stream that, but he buys Tank and he buys Wilder. You know, and he has people
Why
over.
you calling him Wilder?
Wilder.
Yes.
By the way, Jules, can I pose a quick question?
Frank.
Go ahead. Hold on, wait, one at a time. Go ahead, Jay.
Okay, so like, yeah, I got a concern because if Helenius is Wilder's comeback opponent, and if he goes in there and gets knocked out, which I think he's going to, what happens to his title shot status with the WBA? Is he still be in line for that, or what's going on?
Now, this is what will happen. This is what I believe, and I want you guys to pay attention. Shelly Finkel expressed an interest in putting Deontay Wilder in there with who?
Anthony Joshua.
No.
The fat Mexican dude that fucking blew up and blew his title shot.
No. Shelly Finkel expressed an interest. Him and Frank Warren are cool, and I did a video on it. And Shelly Finkel, out of his own mouth, said he wants to put Wilder in there. No. Daniel Dubois, the WBA regular champion. And who's ranked highly in the WBA's ranked standings?
Robert Helenius.
Remember, the first time they negotiated the Fury fight, Bob Arum wasn't involved. Shelly and Frank did that amongst themselves. They cool. They tight. So if you tell me that if Robert gets knocked out, Wilder might become number 1 via the WBA. He becomes the mandatory. He becomes the mandatory for Daniel Dubois, who needs a big fight.
That's some slick shit.
That's crazy that he's cool with Frank Warren, but not with Bob Arum. Like, these motherfuckers really are mean girls.
One at a time, fellas. I couldn't even hear nothing nobody said. Go ahead. Say that again, Julio.
I said that's crazy that he's cool with Frank Warren, who's Bob Arum's man, but he's not cool with Bob Arum. Like, these motherfucking promoters really are mean girls.
Yo, it really is clicks and shit like that, bro. And the way I see it, Andy Ruiz is still an option, but there are difficulties there because Andy Ruiz is a fighter that made multi-million-dollar purses. So Andy is a more expensive option to a Daniel Dubois. What do you got to give Daniel to get him in the ring? 1 million, 2 million? You got to give him.
Because if Andy beats Ortiz, him and Wilder are going to both want 15 million each. guaranteed up
That's
front.
what I mean, Drew. That's what I mean. That if it's Andy, I don't know that Andy won't fuck that up to where like, fam, you can't give me a mil. I want at least 8 or whatever, right? Or is Daniel, bro? You could get Daniel in that ring with Wilder for 2. Probably could. Less expensive option by far. And with the Daniel Dubois fight, you can keep running the scam that you're currently running with Gervonta Davis. This is a title fight. Yeah, secondary title, motherfucker. Not the real heavyweight champion, but that don't stop them from calling Tank a champion. Do it. And all he got is a secondary title. So the way I see it, Daniel Dubois versus Deontay Wilder is something that could, in theory, happen next year if he wins this year.
I see it happening the way you put it, man. Because Daniel will take that fight because he'll see the rewards behind that fight. But if they give me 2 to 3, but if I manage to beat this guy, like.
But hey, Jules, who's next in
it's a
line?
fight he can win.
What sanctioning body's next in line for a mandatory at heavyweight?
Right now it's more than one. Like the closest one that is due for a mandatory, just any mandatory to any champion right now, is the WBO. They have their mandatory. It's Joe Joyce, and it will be the winner of Joyce versus Parker, which happens the month after this month. You know what I mean? Joshua versus Usyk in August. Joyce versus Parker.
That was for September. A WBO mandatory though, Usyk, right?
He is the mandatory though. Like he got it already. He could chill if he want, but he want to fight. So I ain't mad at that. But he got it already. He is that. So
I mean, in terms of the history, like the last mandatory to get a shot at the belt was Usyk with the WBO, correct?
Correct. But
so it has to be another one in line, right?
I would say for the winner of Joshua versus Usyk, it's between the WBA and the WBO. As you stated, Usyk was the last mandatory that was satisfied. He was. But because they're fighting now, that doesn't satisfy that requirement. You know, AJ ain't a mandatory. How long ago was the first fight? How long ago did that mandatory get satisfied?
11 months ago.
So next year, are they not going to order a mandatory? They might. They might.
It might, unless they do because who did because they did the 18 months for Canelo, correct?
Yeah.
They combined the mandatories and made Caleb a man. They made Caleb a mandatory when he had a belt.
Now, also think about Zhilei Zhang versus Filip Prgovic is happening on the undercard of Joshua versus Usyk. Whoever wins that fight is an IBF mandatory. One is going to be due. Because the last IBF mandatory that got satisfied, what was that, 2020? Pulev? Was that in 2020 or was that last year that he satified Pulev?
That was 2020, bro.
2020.
2020.
So in 2023, it looks like it could be WBO, IBF, or IBF, WBO.
And Jules, I know you said you want AJ to win for the health of the division. I don't want Fury involved, bro. He's gonna fuck it up. I see what he's trying to do. Oh, real quick. I see that he's trying to get a fight in so he can cut out Frank and Bob, because, like we said, anything time Fury's involved is bullshit.
Yeah,
he'll fuck that undisputed shit up.
Yeah, but
they might order the mandatories before that fight even gets made.
That's the other thing that, like I gave up on undisputed, to be real with you, bro. Like I'm not looking for it. If it happens, great, but I'm not looking for it because one, AJ got to win. For me to know that 2 heavyweights will fight for the undisputed, AJ got to win. If Usyk win, I don't know that Fury gonna fight him. And then if Fury don't fight him, Usyk gonna have mandatories up the wazoo. He gonna have Joe Joyce. He gonna have the winner of Hrgovic versus Zhang, which I think is gonna be Hrgovic. I don't think Daniel's gonna go after him. I don't think, because it doesn't make sense. Can you see Daniel Dubois in the ring with Alexander Usyk?
He'll get starched, and that goes to your point that Eddie and Alex have to come to agreement where Eddie locks up Usyk just to be his co-promoter.
Yeah, but Eddie fucking up a little bit, bro.
No,
I'm hearing that Dillian White might fight Daniel Dubois. That's what I'm hearing, and that's not really a good look. I say it's not a good look because, you know, Sky doesn't really have a lot of heavyweights. They're building their stable, but they don't have a lot of heavyweights. At least not guys that are on the cusp. Now, Daniel is on the cusp. Joe Joyce is on the cusp. If Dillian ends up going over there and fighting that guy, that is kind of a bad look for Matchroom. Like, why would he go over there? Why would he leave Matchroom? And he might, because I asked this already. Upon Dillian's return, he goes back to Matchroom to do what and fight who?
Well, wasn't he always a free agent, technically?
He was, but you know that he's most of the business that he's been doing is been with Matchroom. He hasn't fought anywhere else. Think how long has he been over there? Like, it is a fight by fight basis. You're right about that. But all his fights have been Matchroom fights. All of them.
Yeah, for the longest. But I mean, you're right. Who do they really have for him? For Gobic?
He ain't gonna fight that.
Yeah,
dude.
he ain't fighting him.
See,
He'll fight that fucking.
That'd be the only guy they would have for him, and he's not gonna fight him. So
I figured that maybe he doesn't go back to Matchroom, but I kind of thought that maybe he'll go to Sky because, you know, he was on pay-per-views on Sky. They're paying a lot of people a lot of money right now, so maybe he'll go over there. The last thing I thought I would hear is that he's going to fight Daniel Dubois, but I seen something this morning saying that, yo, they really talking about that fight. So
Eddie Hearn actually said in an interview, he's basically like, what boxers doing is basically what a Matchroom did in the United States. They're doing in the UK, where they're like overpaying fighters. So I think it's a possibility that Dylan does go over there for the bread, but he might come back after if he wins.
Possibly, because if he goes over there, there's a couple of guys over there that make for decent little fights that are more winnable fights than the other fights. Like Dillian White versus Huey Fury. That's a winnable fight for Dillian. Dillian White versus Michael Hunter. That's a winnable fight for Dillian. It is. Because Michael looked like doodle with Jerry Forrest. So you compare, if you think about that, they're like, damn, y'all going to offer me this kind of money for these guys as opposed to, I'm going to go in there with Daniel for this bread. I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe he'll go to Sky, but that's the rumor. He talking about fighting Daniel. Let me read the super chat. Jose says que lo que de lo mío was good. Showtime Boxing is on its last legs. Por estar haciendo coro con ese loco viejo de PBC, Premium Bultero. I dig it. Mr. T says the only thing is funny is Wilder blaming Magic for getting cooked. Lyson Fury seriously explaining that he doesn't have magic gypsy powers. It's ridiculous, bro. It's ridiculous.
And to speak to that Showtime comment, it's obvious though, Jules, because remember when they announced the deals, they're like, we're getting 120 million in budget from both networks total, and now you cut that in half. Showtime did not give PBC $60 million worth of money this year at all.
There's no way. There can't be. There's no way. I don't see where they spent 60 million in production. Where?
If they would have had that much money, we would have got Crawford Spence. We would have got Charlo Andrade already.
But that's kind of why I believe that they're going to dedicate whatever resources they have to ensuring that the Crawford versus Spence fight happens, because it's not like the spending has been exorbitant. If you think about the shows that they have put on, Charlo versus Castaño, it couldn't have costed more than $2-3 million to get both those boys in the ring, right? And the other fights that they've put on, those have been fights at lower weights, like Ancajas versus Fernandez, Figueroa versus this fucking guy. Those are not expensive fights to put on. So I feel like, you know what? They're going to do whatever they have to do to ensure now that Crawford versus Spence happens, because they need it to happen. They need that fight. It's not like before where you think that you can live without it. Before, you had Danny Garcia as an alternative, well, not even that, because the other thing is Spence went from being a Fox fighter to going back to Showtime. If you remember, the Mikey Garcia fight was on Fox, right? The Sean Porter fight was on Mikey Garcia was on Fox.
Sean Porter and Danny Garcia.
Those were both on Fox. And now it looks like, okay, well, he's back to Showtime, because you see that Stefan Espinosa's back in the conversation when it comes to Spence. So that means he went back because Fox don't want to give them the money to do that fight. They're not spending any money on boxing anymore, like Marcos Villegas said. So if Showtime is in the picture, look at everything they've done and ask yourself, did they really spend a lot of money on boxing? Nah, they haven't.
Tom
That's
Brown
what-
is out there setting the ring up himself.
Fuck around.
The most money they spent was that Canelo fight, but that fight brought the money back.
Yeah, exactly. Like when you talk about Canelo's fight, they didn't lose. And somebody asked me about that the other day, and I broke it down for them that they didn't lose money on that. That's why they offered him more money, because they made money. The gate, wasn't it 18
and fellas, that was a
Canelo paid for himself.
Yeah,
Hey, if you
that
don't,
was
if you
part
don't
of
mind,
because
sure
that
that
is
fight
what is
generated-
supposed to happen when you put a fighter on pay-per-view. They supposed to pay for themselves. You ain't supposed to end up in the red. If you ended up in the red, you might as well have not have put them on pay-per-view, because all they did was lose money.
And that was part of last year. That was part of last year's budget. This year, I don't even think. How many cards have they had? Showtime.
Not a lot, to be real with
I don't
you.
even think they spent $20 million on boxing this
I
year.
don't think they did it. Think about it. What cards are we talking about? Brian Castaño versus Jermel Charlo. Figueroa versus Fulton this year?
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
it wasn't.
No, it was last year.
It was Fulton versus
Roman and June.
Yeah, and
Roman.
Figueroa fought somebody, right? This year he did fight somebody though.
Yeah, he did. He fought on the undercard of the Magsayo versus Vargas, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
He moved up in weight. I just
And Rigo versus what's his name was last year. Casemiro was last year.
The shitty. What I'm noticing is, look, a lot of the cards that we've been getting by way of Showtime, if you notice, these are fighters at lower weights, and we all know that the fighters at the lower weights, their purses are nowhere near as big as welterweights or middleweights. Don't you see that Jermel Charlo he gonna end up sitting out the whole year?
Fuck yeah, right. He is not fighting at all, man. They're fucking up his career, bro. Well, he too. He's fucking up his career.
And Jermel only fought once. So far, nobody that really costs a lot of money fought this year at Showtime. If you think about it, who costs a lot of money that fought? Who?
And that wasn't a lot of money for Spence Ugas.
Was that this year, bro?
April.
Yeah, that was this year.
Was that Fox? That was a Showtime pay-per-view or a Fox pay-per-view?
Showtime.
That was all right. Man, Hot Boxing Minute, you need to jump on here, bro. Cut the bullshit, bro. I see you, dog. But cut the bullshit and click that link, bro. But yeah, I just don't.
Pelea, bro. Y Benavides versus Charlo, bro.
Pero ninguna de esas peleas cuesta mucho dinero. Eso es lo que yo estoy diciendo. Por eso yo pienso que sí, Spence y Crawford van a pelear este año porque ellos no gastaron mucho dinero. They didn't spend a lot of money. They really didn't. Right there go the villain.
Yeah, and that fight could bring them somewhat back. It's gonna make some money. It's gonna make good money.
I mean, like I said, I could see Spence versus Crawford commercially doing the same kind of metrics as Deontay Wilder's return. I don't know about 500,000. That number is crunchy, but I could see it doing. I could see it doing 4. I could see that.
Maybe 450,
like 10 million
something like that.
Gate too.
I think four is the ceiling. I'd be surprised if it does 300 though.
Do you think do you guys think they'll raise the price though for that? That's what I've been hearing. The rumors are going to make it like $100.
Bro, that's crazy.
85.
That's fucking crazy, bro.
I wouldn't pay no $100.
People are.
No, I mean,
are
I'd
gonna
pay
steal
it,
the
but I'd
fuck
talk
out
a lot
that.
of shit, country. I'd pay it, but I would talk a lot of shit.
I pay because I support Crawford, but I might fight her for VPN. I don't know yet. I might have to look at the undercard first.
Realistically, if there's a $100 fight out there right now, that's the only $100 fight that I personally see.
Yeah, I guess, man. But that's still steep though. But I do want to see that
Hell
fight.
no, $100 fight. If the only $100 fight I'd pay for right now is happening next Saturday.
Listen, I'm saying this, right? There's only one fight that I, as a boxing fan, actually feel is $100 fight because of the consequences, and I'm not even paying $100 for it. I don't think, and that's Joshua versus Usyk.
Yeah, there's more on the line for that in the entire sport, because the sport moves with the heavyweight division. If AJ wins, the triumphant story of being a 3-time champion, and fucking how much the fucking Saudi's gonna pay for Fury Joshua? $200 million site fee?
Oh, easy, man. They're gonna go off on that one.
150 joules? It'll be double what they pay for Usyk AJ.
You know, it's better that Fury. It's better that AJ does win. To be honest.
No, it's not.
It's better for the sport, man.
It is
For the health of the division too, yes. And I think he'll pull it off.
I mean, I saw him on the pads earlier today, and he was looking like a monster. I ain't even going front. It's the body shots that caught my eye because that's the one thing that Usyk. It's like he moved his head. You can see that. It's hard to hit him clean in the face, but the body that you could get him to the body though.
But Jules, what's may complicate that is the fact that Usyk is bulking up. How's he gonna? If he's bulking up. I mean, maybe he's going for a knockout, but he's gonna be less mobile by bulking up, don't you think?
That's true too.
That's honestly, I think what Usyk said is he's bulking. I think he's just getting a little bit more weight on him to deal with the punishment that he knows he has to take.
I agree.
But that too. But if you watch the Chisora fight, every time he got close, Usyk did not engage him. What he did was he controlled his hand, and then he put his left hand all the way up to protect his face, pushed him off of him, like wrestled him off, and threw a couple check hooks or some jabs. But I think if Joshua gets on the inside, I don't think you'll be able to get away with that, big man, because he's like, what, 250? So, I don't know.
And let Joshua hit him to that body, boy. Woo. He ain't going to like it.
That's the only fight that I really think is worth that kind of scratch. $100 fight, to be real with you. I don't actually view Crawford versus Spence as that kind of fight. That's too close to Maypac numbers, bro. And this ain't Maypac, bro. Spence. Neither one of them is Spence neither one of them is Manny or Floyd, and that's just being real. Like it's not that big a fight, bro.
It's a good fight though. It should have happened a long time ago, but it's a good.
A good fight, but they hurt the fucking fight with the bullshit they was doing.
Of course, yeah. I mean, the promoters who were putting it up didn't even acknowledge one of the guys even existed or was a champion at all before this fight even happened. So I don't know why would they expect people to pay that much money?
That's what I'm saying. How you spend 4 years shitting on a guy so you could turn around and tell people you got to pay $100 to see him fight? That don't make no fucking sense, bro.
Well, can I ask the panel a question?
It's the power, the speed, the footwork.
Oh God.
Oh shit, man! There is this fucking moth. I'm trying to go back in my house, and there's this fucking moth.
Jules, why don't you get bug assault, man?
Because it's fucking nighttime and I can't aim at night. All right, I just made it back in, thank God. Fucking moth is trying to get in my house, bro.
Can I pose a question to the panel?
Go ahead.
What's up, AJ? Go ahead, man.
What up, y'all? What up, country?
Yes, we accept you, AJ.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
We accept you if you're we accept you coming out, AJ. Don't worry, we love you.
Hey man,
I waited years. I know it's about time. It's about time. No,
all right, come on with the question.
Yeah, love wins.
All right. Who's gonna buy Wilder Hellenius?
No. Listen. No. Being real with you, right? I agree with what Rick Glacier said. That's not really a pay-per-view worthy fight. But the event, the action of him coming back, that is the event. That is what you're selling. The intrigue of not knowing, is Wilder going to get back to his winning ways or is he ruined? That's really what you're selling. And because Hellenius is coming off of 2 big wins for him over Adam Kovnowski, who was an unbeaten fighter, it's like, yeah, I could see where you sell that. And it's like, if you put some decent fights on the undercard, like let's say this, hypothetically, if you said Robert Hellenius, Deontay Wilder main event, Stanionis Boots co-main, I buy that fight. I buy like that.
Oh yeah,
I buy that fight.
You know, part of the intrigue too is Hellenius catching him at the right time. Also,
yeah, because Hellenius can punch. He can punch.
And he's
come on, y'all. You guys know Wilder's gonna knock this dude out. Like
I know, but it's.
I think he will.
Yo,
they're still at a level of danger. They're still at a level of danger there.
That card. If it was all right, let's say it were. I'm not even going to say Keith Thurman because he's just a. If it were Stanionis versus Boots as the co-main and Wilder versus Hellenius as the main, Drew? Would you buy that fight?
Yes, I'm going to buy it.
Same, I would.
Because Wilder's chin.
In that case, they definitely double up the undercard.
But remember, look, even with all the ass whooping that he took from Fury, right? Like, I know that we all thinking about it like Wilder's chin at the elite level is probably gone, right? Is Hellenius elite level, though?
Hey, but
no, absolutely not. Apparently, Wilder already used to like beat him up in sparring anyway. They used to be sparring.
That's literally his sparring partner.
He's not
old
gonna get
sparring
knocked the fuck
partner.
out, Jules. Just say he's gonna get knocked the fuck out, man.
No,
We
he's
wanna
gonna.
see it.
No. My prediction, if they fight, is Wilder by way of knockout. He probably is losing rounds at the time of the knockout because Helenius throws more punches than Wilder. Wilder don't throw a lot of punches. He just rounded through the round. He doesn't throw a lot of punches. He's waiting to set you up. So I could see it being like how Washington was, where Wilder looking bad and the jab is touching him, the jab, and then it's a wrap.
Can you agree?
Yeah.
Can you agree based on how Adam looked his last fight that I don't give Robert as much credit now because it would have been different. So if Adam came back, he put on a good show, you could just say, okay, Robert just had his number. He's a better fighter. But when Adam came back and as poorly as he fought, I don't think those wins look quite as good as they really are, in my opinion.
I definitely, it's a double-edged sword, but the pendulum swings both ways. How do we know that Robert, the Nordic Nightmare, didn't ruin him? We could say that too.
Look how he looked against Ali Demirezin.
And that was my point. He looked horrible.
No, he looked horrible, but did he look horrible because he was never any good, or did he look horrible because Helenius ruined him?
Well, I'm going to err on the side. I'm going to err on the side that Robert is not an elite boxer. So I'm just going to err on the side that Adam is not nearly as good as he was perceived to be. I will say even in fights that I watched him before, Robert, he didn't look that great to begin with. So I didn't really understand the big push for him. I understand probably because he's Polish and they could get people in New York to come out and watch him fight. But I never saw anything that really set him apart from some other heavyweights. I think it was just more of a PBC push, in my opinion.
Well, I'm going to say that I really liked his nickname, you know, the Nordic Nightmare. I think that's a really good nickname. That sounds like a movie almost.
The Northman.
The Northman, you know. Yep. Robert is that.
He looks like one of those. That's what he looks like. He looks like he could be in that movie.
Yeah, he was an extra on that movie.
Yeah, he could have been.
Robert.
You know who was an extra in that movie? Thor Bjornsson.
Oh yeah, the Mountain Man.
He was the football. He was the football guy that they was fighting in the shit, and he headbutted him to death. Thor Bjornsson was in that shit.
Robert is clearly a better fighter, but with all due respect, when you watch the PBC, I mean, the only one that really has ever stood out recently to me has been Wilder, and I don't put that much credit to Wilder. I don't give him that much credit as many other people do. But if you look at the people he's fought, I mean, Ortiz is a good, slightly above average heavyweight. Robert doesn't do much for me. Adam doesn't do much for me. So a lot of these guys that they're fighting, when they're gassing them up, I'm just kind of like, I mean, I can have a take it or leave it. There's a lot better options on the top ranked side with, you know, Jared Anderson.
Torres.
I don't see that these fights. I mean, I guess Ruiz, now that he's, you know, a quote unquote PBC or he's part of the Fox network, I would say Ruiz, you know, is the only guy in. I mean, look at that. Look what he did against Areola. So,
you know, now that you mention it, they all look like shit. Every single one of them.
That's what I was gonna say. Why I wouldn't buy this fight is because we've seen Wilder fight this level of opposition 38 fucking times. Like we know it's gonna happen.
I mean,
if he ain't fighting at least a Frank Sanchez or something, I don't want to see it. Like I don't care because I know he's gonna knock him out.
Honestly, what it is like to get me to buy that fight, they have to really doll up the undercard. They really have
it's
to.
The only way with a strong like if you told me not that it's realistic because it's not, but if it were Boots Thurman or Stanionis Thurman or Stanionis Boots, I would buy. If that's the co-main, I would buy that.
Now we're talking.
It would make
that could be a main event in itself.
Yeah, I would buy that. That's not bad.
What it reminds me of, it's honestly going to the local bar and seeing the same like 12 like fat ugly chicks. Like,
I knew where you were going because that's what I thought. You know what this is like? This is like fucking a joint that. But you're gonna do it because it's Friday, bro. Like,
but the
your dick is in the Captain Kirk chair. You might as well.
As much alcohol, as much alcohol as I have to drink to like try to hook up these fat chicks is the same that I'm gonna actually want to buy the PBC fights.
That's such a good parallel.
Yeah, really but all Wilder has to do, all Wilder has to do to win this fight in two ways, two outcomes. Either he's going to land a big right hand, or he's going to do one of his trademark Wilder windmill.
I got a question though. I got a question for the final. So, you know, this is like my dad. He'll buy every pay-per-view because he wants to hang out. But this is when I say, man, Dad, save your money. So, would you recommend? Would you tell your friend, yeah, man, we'll get this fight, or would you be like, yo, homie, just save it?
Nah, I'm gonna be honest, right? Wilder, and y'all know this, I'm being unbiased because I don't like Wilder, right? But this is something that you could recommend to someone because either you're gonna get a highlight reel knockout from Wilder, or Wilder's gonna get knocked out. You can sell that. You can sell that. You know what I mean?
To the casual fan,
but like you mentioned, Gerald Washington earlier, he knocked out Robert Helenius.
Yes, he did.
Is it really that much of an appeal where you can say, yeah, Robert Helenius might actually knock out Wilder?
Fight, bro. It's the fact that the bronze blunder is back. It's not the fight.
So a freak show. You're selling the freak show.
It's more like, look, when Mike Tyson came back and he fought Peter McNeely.
We got Peter McNeely, yep.
You know, and everybody knew we are not here because of Peter McNeely. We're here because of Mike. So Wilder, he came close to $1 million with Fury in the second fight. And the third one, 600,000, not a terrible number. I'm just saying that, like, yeah, man, like you can 400,000, I could see that. 350, 400, I could see that. Yeah, just be realistic. The teams need to be realistic. Now, we know Helenius ain't going to price himself out. Helenius ain't the most expensive motherfucker on the menu. It's Wilder. So what does it take to get him in the ring? And I think you give him 15 mil, he can bring it back. 15 mil, he can bring it back.
But honestly, watching the PBC, and at least heavyweight, so I won't even speak about the rest of the roster, but just the PBC, it's honestly just not good boxing. And to watch people, and what'll happen is after he knocks him out, everyone's going to say Wilder's back and he's this great fighter and look what he's proved. It'll be back to the same old of what happened before. But anytime you put him in there with anyone who's halfway decent, we already know what's going to happen. That's what irritates me the most as a fan is they will gas this guy up for beating these guys who are C-level fighters because that's what they have to offer. I would give him more respect if he actually got in the ring and he fought Ruiz. At least Ruiz held an actual title and beat an actual true.
But that is what they're building towards. I gotta ask Kat. Kat, we know what the rumors are, that Wilder is gonna come back potentially this fall to take on Robert Helenius, and it will be a pay-per-view. Do you believe that fight can do well at the box office?
It depends on what you're looking at when you say well. I think it'll do decent numbers because I do believe that people are, like you said, interested to see Wilder come back. Just like, people are interested to see what Lopez is going to do with Campia. It's not about Campia. It's about, how Lopez is going to look at, at 140. So I wouldn't say that, it's going to be financially great. I think he'll do decent numbers, maybe somewhere around what like Tank Davis will do, like maybe like 200K or whatever.
I think 3, Kat. I
agree with Kat. 200K.
Right, I think 3.
I don't think it's crazy numbers, but I do think that he has eyes on him because, again, we haven't seen him since Fury, and people are interested how much those 2 last fights, have affect him. So I do think people will watch. I don't think it'll be crazy numbers. I do think like around 200, 250, but that's just me.
Kat, if they do the pay-per-view, irrespective of any, hypothetical scenarios and hypothetical co-main events, would you purchase that fight if that's the fight we end up getting in the fall? Robert Helenius, Deontay Wilder, $80 on Fox. That's a no. That is a no. That is a no. That's no. If you gotta breathe that much.
Man, I will say Showtime is really good. Like if you wait about a week, they're really good on putting the fights on Showtime. So I don't mind waiting a week. I'm not paying no $80 just to see that. Like
that was a no. If you gotta breathe that hard, you don't really want to see that shit.
We know Cat will pay 80 for 8.
Would you even go to somebody's house to watch it? Would you spend the money on gas?
It depends on whose house it is, bro.
If it's down the street, I'd go.
Would you drop 20 on it?
Do they have beer?
Right? Do they have food? You know what I mean?
On a party.
And do I have anything else to do? Like It's just too many variables. You know what
I wouldn't go to Buffalo Wild Wings for this shit.
Listen, that is the thought process that I have the night of Broner versus Figueroa. If something else is not going on, that might be movie night because I'm like, fam, I am old. I'm not going to be up at 12 a.m. watching Adrian Broner.
I don't want to see that.
I can't do it.
The
Bro.
problem is with that statement, Julius, is that we know that you have an addiction to boxing. So it's very hard for us all to buy that, with all due respect.
Listen, with the amount of fights that I take in a week, I promise you, I can sit that one out. Broner versus, I can sit that one out. You watch. I can sit that one out.
Wait a minute.
I know ain't nothing going to happen.
I maybe feel if Broner is getting together with your friends and making fun of the fight and the card and things like that.
It is
Broner's like a good B-level movie, a good B movie that like you don't watch it for the story, you watch it to make fun of the shit.
Wait a minute, one thing though.
It's like the lead up to the fight, like the press conference and everything else. That's what's more entertaining. And then, you know, what will he say when he loses? Because his style hasn't changed in his last fights. He's not motivated. We know that he's doing it because he owes a lot of people money. So it's, you know, I don't see any motivation for him at all. And I know that he's doing it because he needs the money. So it's, you know, it's not.
Tú no oíste lo que él dijo, que si Floyd le ofreciera a él una exhibición, él deja esta pelea and he'll go do the exhibition. If that doesn't say it all right there, the dog, you would drop this fight that is already signed to fight in a non-consequential exhibition match with Floyd. That shows that you have no ambition, that you're just fighting for a check. You're not trying to get anywhere or fight anyone in particular. You're just fighting to keep the lights on.
To Robert's
What
point
lights?
real quick, don't we all have an addiction to boxing on this channel?
Yeah, Broner don't want his debit card to decline for.
Hey, can I predict the figure that it will do? Yeah, I think it will do 400,000, right? 400,000 crack stream views.
1,000 what?
No. Look, I'm being 100% serious with that ballpark because Wilder was the only one in the PBC roster who came close out of this cycle of fighters. He's the only one who came close to cracking 1 million with Fury in the second fight. So he has that appeal, and that creates an environment to where if the operational costs are low, this can be successful. Robert Helenius don't cost a lot of money to get in the ring. You don't got to pay an arm and a leg to get that guy in the ring. It's not a fucking title fight, so you don't have to worry about that either. It's really the only one you got to pay is Wilder. And I think you could give Wilder between 10 and 15. You give Helenius, I don't know,
half a mil. Half a mil. I'll probably take that.
Don't do him like that because he's gonna get knocked out. Don't do him like that. But yeah, like you could do that. Now I wanna ask Kat because I know that Kat is not Kat likes to disagree with me, and I really do appreciate that because it gives me a fresh set of eyes. Kat, what do you think about this fight?
I don't care for it. I believe this, and I've said this before, this generation lives off nostalgia, and I think that's what they're doing. I don't care. I don't care.
You don't like. You're not remotely excited. There's nothing about this fight that says, "No, I want to watch this." It's not like that.
Nope. I don't care for it.
Wow,
the juice is flowing.
As a fight, it's meaningless. But as a piece of business, this is another hit from Matchroom.
Oh, yeah, of course. Especially in the UK, right? You know, they're gonna have their dads in the camp. You know, I'm pretty sure they'll probably even have them like in one of those sit downs or whatever, you know, to build up the fight. Of course, they're going to make money off of it. As far as me watching it, if I have nothing else to watch, I'll watch it. I'm damn sure not paying shit for it, but I'm not interested in this. Like, I think yeah, you know, it'll probably give Ben some experience, but like I said, there's other fighters I would be interested to seeing him in the ring with, and Eubank is not one of them.
I do agree with that I wanted something better for Conor. This feels in some ways like a cash out fight almost because he's going all the way up to middleweight. Regardless of whether it's a catchweight or not, it's a catchweight within the middleweight division, within the middleweight limit. And it's dangerous because if he loses this, you know, he could get the shit beat out of him. Don't get it twisted. Chris is not. I don't like Chris.
Eubank is no slouch, though. He's no slouch.
He's strong. He's strong, and he could take a punch. I want the catch weight to hurt him and destroy him and deplete him because I hate Chris Eubank Jr. I've always hated him. You know, he got the face of a guy that is a pound for pound guy when you're not a pound for pound. Like, why are you so confident, bro? Why are you so satisfied with your motherfucking self? You haven't done shit, but he's so satisfied with himself.
Who's he beat? What's his best win?
Abney Yildirim.
He reminds me of ¿cómo se llama muchachito este? Of Junior, Chavez Jr. Right? They haven't done shit, but their name is what carries them. That's what it is.
Though.
Their name is what carries them. Other than that, like, it is what it is.
When you guys think about it, this is a pathetic fight because Conor is a freaking welterweight and Eubank is a middleweight. I mean, come on.
Well, country, let's be fair. It's pathetic for Chris, but it's ambitious of Conroy. We can say that.
I mean, like, the only one who stands the only person who has anything to lose is Chris here. Because, like, if you win, okay, well, you beat a guy who pretty much, was overmatched. Then if you lose, oh God, that's even worse.
Oh God, if he loses, I hope he fucking retires.
Yeah, Conroy Bean. My opinion, Conroy Bean really has other, shit to take her up at welterweight. But at least he's like taking a risk and fighting a bigger guy. Eubank calls out everyone and fights no one, so I hope he gets obliterated.
Yeah, I mean, to Cat's point, if he didn't have that name and you looked at his career, what did you do, dog? Old Arthur Abraham lose to a George Groves that was at the end of his career. I think his highlight victories, his signature victories, are Reynald Quinlan for the IPO and Yildirim. Those are his signature fights.
Well, let me ask y'all this: who's the biggest clout chaser, Chris Eubank Jr. or Jamal Charlo?
I think it's Chris.
I think it's David.
No, it's Chris because he called out Terrence Crawford.
Oh God!
He called out a retired Kell Brook. He called out a retired Kell Brook, bro.
Oh, that's bad. Yeah, that's bad. I forgot about that. Oh yeah, he's got to go. He's got to go.
Now, Cat, we've been seeing a lot of Anthony Joshua on the mitts. We've been seeing that Usyk put on some weight. It looks like he wants to put on some mass for this rematch, perhaps to be more durable. Have these highlights and tidbits affected your perception of what's going to happen in the rematch?
No, because like I said, I thought that, and I think he even said it in an interview where he said that he was trying to preserve himself and stick to boxing and not, brawl or whatever, so he can last longer in the sport. And by doing that, he let go of what made him, the AJ that people followed and what, made him an aggressor. So, and I do think that coming into this fight too, it's not going to be the same Usyk and it's not going to be the same AJ. So if you're relying on the first fight to tell you what's going to happen in the second, I'm going to let you know right now that's not going to happen.
I like that. They
have completely adjusted their styles. So I'm not sure why people keep saying, oh, if in the first fight he did this, that. I'm going to let you know right now, don't even think about that. Because
I fucking like that.
You can clearly tell that these are completely two different fighters that are stepping into the ring for fight two. And that's what makes it even more exciting, because I don't know what the fuck is going to happen, but I can tell you that someone or both will hit the canvas at one point. So I very much doubt it goes to 12 because
Sell it.
Usyk is not playing. He was out here saying, hey, I had him rattled in the 12. If I can make these changes, if I can make these adjustments, I'm going in here to freaking chop his head off. AJ is like, look, I'm sick and tired of this freaking, this pure boxing, tic-tac, da-da-da. I'm going to go in there with me fucking intentions. And that's what the fuck we want to see. That's what's, going to happen in fight two. So honestly, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be a good fucking show. And that's what I want to see.
I know what's going to happen.
What's going to happen?
The Capricorn will be victorious, but I want to say something to what Cat. Hold on. I want to say something to what Cat said about it not being the same fight as the first. I agree, but one thing that's going to remain the same in order for Usyk to win is the footwork. who's getting the placement. Like Jules broke it down. Whoever's getting the placement in this fight in terms of the footwork, whoever wins that battle is going to dictate where this fight is taking place.
Well, let me say that. Let me say this, Drew. The feet really come into it more when you're trying to get full extension on the arm. But if we get a more aggressive Anthony Joshua that wants to crowd him and collapse the pocket, the fucking feet, it's not about them anymore. Because if he steps in within striking distance, that he catches a little bit of shots on the arms and gloves, closes that gap to get close to him, it's not about the feet anymore. The feet is really about who's winning the jabbing contest. But if Anthony Joshua is not going to fence and he's not going to look for openings, if he's going to be aggressive and maul him, then the feet don't even come into it.
Right.
I just where I find difficulty is it's only one camp with Robert, and ever since that Klitschko fight, he's not been that Anthony, and you can't find that overnight. You can't find that with a new trainer, and we're gonna see when he takes that first shot. This fight's gonna be won again, Jules, in the first round. Whoever dictates that.
I agree with that. Whatever we see in the first round is likely going to set the tone for the rest of the fight. Will says, listening to this makes me wonder, how many good fighters does the PBC have left? Jermell and Boots only come to mind. Well, remember, Will, Boots is not a PBC fighter. He's a Showtime fighter. He ain't one of they. That's why he don't have access to nothing. Will also says, speaking of Crawford, why did he confront Cobbs? He looked like he was ready to eviscerate him. Yeah, I don't know what happened with that. I think Cobbs has some slick shit because Cobbs, he be shooting off at the mouth, man. Like,
well, you better watch it. You don't want nothing with Bud. You don't want nothing with Bud.
Yeah, he doesn't want Bud, man. Bud put a hurting on his ass bad.
Now, there's a lot of things going on, and I understand if nobody wants to get involved. This pertains to me, you know. My name is getting thrown around. I don't know why. It's like people are trying to argue with me on Twitter. And Kat, you know, you see on Twitter, I don't bother nobody, dog. I just be chilling. So I feel like I have hate watches, in other words, because it's like, dog, I don't keep up with y'all. I don't really care what y'all think about boxing, feel me? Because I don't keep up with y'all. Why me? Drew, why me? Come on, I need an answer.
I mean, we know. Well, first of all, we know why it is. It's the. I'll be honest. I'm the same way as a Capricorn. There's a level of arrogance when we talk to inferior intellect, and it comes off as pompous. It comes off as classist, but it is what the fuck it is. I mean, when I get that shit, same shit, Jules on Twitter, when they're like, "Oh, where you at?" Da, 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 da. I'm like, bro, I'm in the first class lounge. I'm in the VIP. If you got an issue with me at one of these fights, pull up. I mean, I don't know if you're gonna get access to where I'm at in the fucking venue. Yeah. But man, we'll have a drink, whatever. What's up?
I didn't even know Frank was still there. I wanted to ask Frank about the motherfucking shit. Yeah. Frank kind of been Chris Eubank Jr. Just give me an overview of this fight. Do you like the fight?
Nah, I don't like it.
You don't. All right. Well, what is it about the fight that you don't like?
Well, it just don't lead to nothing. I don't see what the point of it is. Beside a spectacle. Ben, if Ben he needs to fight the guys in his division. I mean, I know the politics, but just as a fan, that's what I want to see.
But acknowledging the politics, right? Because you know it's politics. He don't have access to guys, and this is a big fight, like in terms of money, right? It's a big fight, right?
Yeah.
So would you consider it a big win for Conor Ben if he pull this off?
Yeah, it'd be the biggest win of his career. He's going to get a lot of publicity and clout. I mean, it's great for the fighter. For the fan, For the fighter, it's tremendous.
Now we're going to move on to next week's fight. A very exciting fight. I think we all going to be biting our nails during this fucking thing. Joshua Usyk, man. Just what are your thoughts, man? What do you think's going to happen?
Oh, boy. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. But
go ahead, Frank.
Okay, I'm on the spotlight. Geez, you know, with Joshua, whatever he's trying to do with Robert, some fighters I think can learn on the fly. Arturo Gatti comes to mind, can change boxer to brawler, but some guys can't. Like imagine a Tito Trinidad trying to employ a shoulder roll. How much can Joshua really change?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. Do you
I'm just
believe that he will change though?
I believe he's going to try because he knows he hurt Usyk to the body. So I think his only shot is to truly commit and take his chances getting knocked out. Because Usyk's gonna go for the knockout. If he tries to come in, Usyk's gonna let it go.
Now, Kat has unique insights that everybody doesn't have. You know about the Ebony Bridges, Shannon O'Connell shit. I'm sure you know about that shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you like for that fight? Come on, man. Out with the shit.
You know, I give Ebony Bridges a lot of shit.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I think she is a...
Come on, out with the shit.
I give her the slight advantage. Just because I think she's a brawler and she goes all in. So I'll give her the slight advantage. But
what is it about? Can I ask a question? I know you're not crazy about that fighter. I understand. Like, I know that we're all entitled to have differences of opinion. I get that. And I am not trying to sell the fighter to you so much as understand what is it that this fighter is doing that pisses so many people off? Because I don't get it. Like, what is the lady doing?
No, you know what it is? It has nothing to do with boxing, right? So, like, as far as boxing, you know, I watch her because of boxing. I think it's like when she does interviews and she, you know, it's more based off her personality and certain things she says. It's like, girl, come on now. But it, you know, as far as boxing, sticking to boxing, I watch her. I enjoy watching her. But outside of that, you won't see me like following her on Twitter and engaging and stuff like that.
What is it though? You're circumventing the question. What is it about this? Because I literally try to understand, right? And you know me, I try to call it down the middle. Ebony Bridges has characterized the criticism that she receives from some of her contemporaries as it being jealousy. Do you feel that that's the case when it comes to those fighters like Shannon O'Connell, who doesn't like Ebony Bridges? And you don't see Shannon coming at nobody else like that, but she'll come at Ebony like that.
No, you know what it is? It's not necessarily jealousy. I do understand as far as like the other female fighters, because of her antics, she'll get extra attention.
What are the antics?
So like
can you say, lo puedes decir en español?
Dilo en español.
Okay, so ella hace cosas sexualmente, you know, and it turns a lot of people, a lot of women off, right?
Que ella parece mucho como una cuera.
Pero dime tú, ¿qué cosas sexuales ella está haciendo?
It's not necessarily como ella se viste, sino las cosas like her extracurricular activities, bro. Like,
¿qué? Vendiendo medias, eso es sexual.
Like outside of boxing, like I said, I don't follow her. I just focus on what she does when it comes to boxing, and I don't really necessarily think it's jealousy. I just think that a lot of women in boxing see, you know, the route that she takes and take
Pero
it as
¿cuál ruta? Ella no se está acostando con nadie.
Nobody's saying que se está acostando con nadie, Julius. I'm saying, okay, so cuando ella está hablando, las conversaciones de ella always end up saying algo sexual o lo que ella hace, y ella se vende, which is great, right? Because she sells herself. That's what she's supposed to do.
But the men like it.
Marketing, you sell yourself, you know, in the best way you can because you want people to engage. But that does sometimes turn a lot of women off when you play into that, you know, male fantasy or whatever. So I'm gonna assume that's why, you know, a lot of boxers, a lot of women don't engage with her in that aspect because, you know, they'll tell you, you know, I have to box, I stick to boxing, that's how I market myself. And she's found a way, you know, that.
But doesn't that then mean that they resent that she has an avenue? Doesn't that mean that maybe what they resent about her is that she has an avenue that she is comfortable being in that perhaps they do not.
Not necessarily, because the thing is, right, what happens, especially with women in any professional, anything, when one does or engages and things like that, everybody expects everyone else to do the same.
Okay,
right?
okay,
And
okay.
that's where they're like, don't expect me to be out here doing all this type of shit because I'm a boxer. This is what I do. If she wants to do that, then go right ahead. Because
Okay.
then you'll see certain people, like trying to interview and be like, oh, so if I, like engage with her like this, maybe she'll bite or whatever. And so like a lot of stuff behind the scene we don't see, but 9 times out of 10, that's what happens. When people get comfortable treating somebody in a certain way, they assume, well, I can do this with everybody else. And that's why a lot of women came out and were like, okay, wait, hold up. She does that. That's great for her. But don't expect me or X, Y, and Z, you know what I mean?
Okay. That much I can understand that perhaps they don't like the precedents or the premise that she sets and what doors that might open that they don't want to deal with and they don't want that expected of. All right. I can understand that.
Let me ask Kat one question real quick. Mm-hmm. Hey, Kat, so is it like they feel like by her doing that, she's setting women back?
Some people do feel that way. I don't think that she is. I think that she's finding a niche that fits her, and that's great. Right. But there are women that feel like, why do you have to resort to that? Why can't it just be boxing? So there are women that do feel that way.
So
I get is it any different to what like something like what Ryan Garcia does, where he markets his looks as well?
Exactly. Yeah. No, it is, right? So you have a Ryan Garcia who has a huge following, right? And he, I think, I don't know if he still is, but at one point, I think he was like on the Hanes commercial or whatever, where he was in his underwear and he was flexing en la madre de yo no sé qué, blah, blah, blah. So you don't see like the Tank Davis, you know what I mean? Like you see like a Tank Davis and a Lopez, looking at him like, yo, he's a clown. Like focus on boxing. So I think we could say that there is some resentment because at the end of the day, that's a bag that he's taking home. But it's also like, hey, I'm a boxer. I box. I don't do all this extra shit.
No, pero tú sabes lo que yo oigo también. Let me say this, Kat. See, I definitely, that was the best I've ever heard it explained, that they don't like the precedents that it sets. But at the same time, I also feel that it's resentment in the sense because she is comfortable in her skin to do those things. You see what I mean? She's comfortable, and not everybody has that. When you think about Ryan, for all his bitch assness, he get a bag. But he get a bag. He get a bag just being Ryan doing TikToks.
When
Ryan probably
that
sees
conversation,
what Ebony wears and is like, ooh, where'd you get that from?
It reminds me of the rap game. Like when Puffy came out with all that dancing, they was talking shit. The guy I like Too Short. He used to clown MC Hammer.
Yeah, like when Puff came out, the hate that Puff was getting, and I'm glad you brought that up because that I had the same kind of questions when it came to Puff. They're like, look, Puff not a gangster, like he not that. So I don't expect him to come out like Styles P. But if he want to wear a suit and do ad libs and shit, what's wrong with that? Like,
but Julius, okay, Ryan got the bag.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But we cannot say we particularly like Ryan, right?
But not because of his bitch shit. Like in other words, wait, Leo, I'm pass it back to you. This is what I'm saying. If Ryan wants to be a Barbie girl, right? I could care less as long as you fight. What I don't like about you is the fights that you are not having. Not that you out here, flipping your hair and just, like I don't care. But if you was like Oscar used to do that shit, but Oscar was fighting people.
I get what you guys are saying. It's like for all these people that do it for vanity reason, there's not much championship medal. Yeah. Like there's not much, intangibles from them that you can see them shine.
So when I see, like you look and I feel bad for Ebony. In other words, when I see people come at her, because I'm like, see, this is what's different, right? Ryan doing all this bullshit, but he don't want to fight for a belt. Now you got a late starter in the sport that got herself to the point to where she moved across a continent because that's how serious. If you think about that, like, fam, if she wasn't a serious professional, if she wasn't a serious pugilist, do you think she would have moved from Australia to the UK where it's always cold? No. No, of course not. Would she have fought Maria Cecilia Roman in under 10? No, not if she wasn't serious. And what people like to say is like, oh, well, the lady not serious, that she really just selling tits and ass. And I'm like, nah, that don't make sense. You ain't have to move from Australia to the UK to sell tits and ass. You could have did that in Australia if that's the case. So I think she's judged unfairly. Liam Rockwell says AJ just signed a DAZN for life deal. If Shelley has any sense, he would walk on over to DAZN head offices and get Wilder a similar deal. Yeah, but we know that's not that won't happen.
Then Lou DiBella tried that and he got fired.
Exactly. Like if AJ wins, Wilder could fight White whilst waiting on what happens in Fury AJ. Either way, he could get big fights with White, AJ, or Hrgovic on DAZN. Well, that all depends on the rotation of mandatories because it feels like Joe Joyce might be closest to fighting for a title, but we don't know. This month, the IBF mandatory will be crowned, whereas the following month, the WBO mandatory will be up for grabs between Joseph Parker and Joe Joyce, even though Joe Joyce already holds that position. I don't know which one's going to get ordered first, to be honest. Will says, I hope Ebony Bridges knocks out Shannon. I'm sick of her rhetoric. She has no morals. Like, bro, I once ate rotten meat because I didn't eat in 3 days, not because I did not have taste. Nobody gives you anything in life. You have to take it. Kat, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't. I didn't hear that, but listen, I don't think she gets a bad break. Like I said, and a lot of times we don't know what happens behind the scenes. I do think that the best thing she could do is get the fuck off social media sometimes because
Really?
she creates her own mess. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not even gonna bring it up.
Eso no fue. Espera un momento, porque no.
Let me finish. Okay. So sometimes she does create her own mess, right? So I will say that sometimes she just has to, woosah and back off a little. But as far as her, what she wears and what she does, and all that stuff. Like I said, if you don't like it, you don't have to follow her. But as far as other women, telling her that, that she doesn't have no morals or she, like at the end of the day, girl, bye. Like we all done a lot of shit that people don't know that we ain't proud of. So I don't really like,
Y eso es lo que yo estoy diciendo, que a ella la juzgan, ella la están juzgando, no sabiendo lo que pasa, si ella se acostó con un tipo, so fucking what? ¿Y qué? No te acostaste con nadie. Tú eres santa. Mother Teresa. De la vaina.
Okay, the last person like that couldn't mind. Who thought Ronda Rousey was hot? Was Ronda Rousey hot?
I want to say this
because I started paying attention to UFC with her.
I just gotta say this. I'm Caucasian joints ain't my thing, so I'm the wrong person to ask.
But I mean, I started paying attention because that was the first time I paid attention to women fighters.
It depends on the Caucasian. It depends.
It does. If it's the
because
girl,
I'll tell you, I'm going to say something controversial right now.
If it's the girl from Dr. Sleep with the hat,
yes.
Okay, está bien.
I'm going to say something controversial now.
But then Ronda got exposed, so I mean, it was a gimmick.
Women now, I'm to the point where if I'm going to date an American woman, it might as well be a white girl so I can get the privilege and the upper mobility to go along with it.
Nah, I mean.
Okay, Jules, we
Can I
just
say this? Let me see esto.
As a married man, hold on, let me finish. As a married man, Jules, you've been out the game a long time.
But I can tell you what has always been a deterrent for me. I could tell you that because it's not like I'm looking anymore, but I could tell you what was always a deterrent for me in the past. When I look down and I see those red feet, it bothers me. Like, I don't know what it is, but I don't like it. Like, Eso es sangre en esos pies.
Hey, if I date Shakira, I'm gonna see red feet.
Red feet. Wow.
Yeah, but because all the white girls move like Shakira.
No, what I'm saying though, I'm talking about. I'm gonna.
For me to get over the red feet, she
has to
better
dance
whine
like-
like Shakira.
Oh, don't forget the amazing
if I
cooking skills.
if I date Salma Hayek, I'm gonna see red feet too.
Her feet is not red at the bottom; they're yellow. They're yellow.
He said,
Hey, Maisha Tate underrated though. How come she didn't get as big as Ronda?
right there. That's me.
Because Ronda beat her, bro.
Well, I'm saying beforehand. You know,
Well,
she was
Ronda
fighting
beat
before
her,
Ronda, right?
Ronda beat her before she was in the UFC, though.
Look, I'm gonna give you an example. Gina Carano was on
There you
before
go.
Ronda. Before Ronda,
Oh,
she
yes.
was well on her way to becoming Ronda,
That's
where
right.
Ronda got up until the Cyborg fight. After the Cyborg fight, she didn't even fight after that. Like that.
Yeah. Did she
killed the
retire
shit.
after that fight?
She
No,
retired
she went to
after
Hollywood.
that
Yeah, she
fight,
went to
bro.
Hollywood. 'Cause if she would have won the Cyborg fight, Dana was gonna sign her.
Yeah. So it's not that Ronda just made it a little further. Maybe Dana figured it out that, you know what? Let's be easy on her because we got a winner here. People are gravitating towards her. There's something about her that people like. So, let's put her in. I don't know that I can say that Ronda was protected so much as she hit a wall. And it's gonna
It
happen.
was a combination of that, Jules, and they kept her away from stand-up girls. Like she almost lost her first fight to Liz Carmouche and got fucking.
Oh, the girl with the glasses, right?
Yeah, got almost her neck twisted off. They rushed Holly Holm for that fight because they're like, we don't want Holly to get any more experience than she already has, because if she does, it's gonna be a wrap.
Big mistake.
Ok, yo voy a decir esto. La Holly Holm, aunque a mí no me gusta la güera, esa tipa, ay Dios mío.
See, there's a white girl for Jules. I told you. He has a
Porque ella siempre está enfogonada. Esa es la cosa más linda. Ella siempre está enfogonada. Nunca está feliz. Nunca tiene la cara feliz. It's just, oh my God, y esa nalga y eso.
Holly Holm.
Yeah, man.
Jules,
Holly Holm's the girl next door.
Yeah.
With the strong jaw.
Jules, did you pick Holly Holm to beat Ronda?
Yes, I did. I still have the Facebook post and everything.
Yeah, she sent Ronda to the next freaking realm, man.
No, Amanda Nunes did that officially, unfortunately, but
No, Holly did it first.
She did it first, but
Holly
then
did it
Amanda
first.
Nunes finished it. So,
Ronda did it. Holly did it better because that leg kick fucking just went boom, fucked her up. That kick.
Yeah.
Well, I read that Ronda said. I remember reading Ronda said that Holly broke her jaw with a jab. I remember reading that. I was like, yo, dog, is sweet science, motherfucker. But accept that shit.
Holly beat her so bad that Ronda did not speak to the press at a UFC fight ever again.
Ever, bro. Ever.
He didn't speak to nobody during
y'all
the
know when
Amanda
I
Nunes
realized
fight.
her fate was sealed is when she refused to do the fist bump. I'm like, okay, that's it. Yeah, she gonna get it now.
You know what? You could see in the final face-off that Ronda was scared because she was actually stuttering. She actually stuttered. She was scared.
You know who she sound like?
And when she ran up on Holly, Holly was with the shit like, what, bitch?
you know who Ronda sound. You know who Ronda sound like, stuttering and looking all nervous and trying to say something about Holly.
Oh, here it comes, Cat.
She sound like Clarissa Shields against fucking Savannah Marshall. Stuttering fucking prick.
Break that fight down.
Cat, can I say this? The parallel is there. The mouthy cunt versus the steely reserve cerebral fighter. It's there. The parallel is there.
The C word.
The cunt.
Julius, wait.
Cunt versus Dyke
I want
Tyson.
to explain the general animosity.
Good.
You talked before about Evan Bridges being a serious professional. Okay,
yes.
Let's talk about another serious profession, like being a lawyer. Okay, you're in a lawyer firm. You have all these lawyers working hard, trying to cling to partnership or whatever. You have, in one side, you have this woman that is a lawyer, that is working his ass off, trying to be the best, according to oil, professional. And the other side, this woman has to watch this other pitch with a big ass cleavage. With a
pretty
when all the freaking with all the girls and all the boys, and even if he's climbing the ranks for his own merit, for the people that's working there, it looks the certain way.
No, te voy a decir, Leo, lo que tú estás diciendo, what you're describing, esos son celo, puro celo. Si ella tiene teta grande, ¿y qué? ¿Y qué? Eso no son problemas tuyos. Si ella tiene teta grande, so.
I'm not saying it's wrong or it's right. I just explain it looks that way when you're inside the
No, tú quieres. I'm going to say this: the individual at the individual level, because I've spoken with one or two fighters that they support it. You know that because it's the whole thing is that there's a line, and I don't actually think she's crossed it with anything that she's done. You know, she allows these guys to think whatever they're going to think because guess what? They are going to think whatever they're going to think. What's she supposed to do? Hide out in a garbage bag? What's she supposed to do? It's a weigh-in. She has huge breasts. People are going to see them.
Let's enjoy them.
People want
to
see them.
That's why I started watching her. I'm not going to lie.
Hey, listen,
like,
I have to. All right, look, I'm not a breast guy. I'm just got to put that out there. I've always been a leg and ass guy. I'm Spanish, goddammit.
Same.
Facts.
Yeah,
I'm Hispanic
too.
too.
I got a problem with breast, but yeah, it is what it is. You got.
I don't got no problem. I don't got no beef. But,
Frank, I got a question. If Savannah beats Clarissa, does she got to come to America too?
Does she got to eventually, right?
What following does Clarissa have here for?
Kat, I need to know if Savannah pulls this off. What's going to be your reaction?
What's going to be my reaction?
Yeah.
It depends how she wins.
If she knocks out Clarissa Shields, because you seem pretty confident to me that Clarissa Shields is going to outpoint Savannah Marshall. And I feel like you're underestimating Savannah.
Okay.
You are.
I'm not, right? So I think I've her last three, and maybe a fourth, right? And I've seen some flaws, but I've seen some strengths, right? But to me, and I've said this before, I believe Clarissa Shields is more skilled. Right now, I understand. Oh, but she has power. Y la madre de yo no sé qué. But I think Clarissa Shields has enough in her arsenal to pull out a UD. Let's say Savannah Marshall wins by KO. Right?
This is the scenario.
I don't believe that. But let's say she does, right? So two things are going to happen, right? Because I know for a fact they have like a two-way clause.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously there's going to be a second fight because I don't
No, there isn't. Well, vamos a decir esto, Kat. Yes, I heard about the two-way rematch clause, but you do realize that Clarissa Shields has a PFL engagement also in the fall.
Oh shit, she does.
So if there is, let's say she goes in there, she gets slapped. She probably don't fight Savannah again this year. And the question that I have for you is, and I did an episode of the Relay on this. Do you think that Clarissa Shields has the psychological resolve to be knocked out by Savannah Marshall?
I don't think she does.
All right, then we're on the same page. Because I think Savannah can handle losing to Clarissa, but I don't think Clarissa can handle losing to Savannah.
I think Clarissa is very she's very high on the fact that she hasn't lost professionally, and she lets everybody know. And she has an ego, which is understandable, you know, with her accomplishments, regardless to how a lot of people see it. But she does have a huge ego. I think if she does lose, especially by stoppage, it's going to...
Could it ruin her, Kat? Don't beat around the fucking bush. Could it ruin her?
I don't think it could ruin her. I think it depends who she has in her corner. At the end of the day, I believe she's engaged, so that relationship, whoever she has at home, is going to, she's going to need everybody around her, to pull her out of that shit.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you what, Kat. I'm gonna tell you what,
Go ahead,
Kat.
Jules.
I believe that you don't see Clarissa in an accurate light, because what I see is if you lose this thing, you may be ruined permanently.
Somebody said she
And I
go
see-
full Deontay.
You know what, guys?
I see a person.
I say that based on the ego. Pride comes just before the fall. Eso está en la Biblia. Pride comes just before the fall, and nobody is prouder than Clarissa Shields.
So you think she will retire and never come back to boxing? Is that what you're saying?
I honestly, you want my honest opinion? Yes. She gives me Ronda Rousey vibes in the sense that you're almost a little bit too self-satisfied, that you're creating an environment where it would be difficult for you to rebound. Savannah doesn't say much, so she doesn't have much to live up to. You're not painting yourself into a corner, but when you dub yourself the greatest woman of all times, yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. She named herself that. The people didn't give her that name. She did. She's more insecure than ego-driven, and you see it in how she conducts herself.
Do you agree with that, Kat?
No. Listen. Yes, she talks a lot. Yes, she's her own hype man, right? Mentally, I understand what a loss could do for her, especially if she gets stopped, just based on and it's more to do with everyone else, not necessarily Marshall and not necessarily her. It's just the point that she wants to prove everybody wrong and be like, see, I told you I was gonna beat her, right? So I understand mentally it'll take a toll on her, but okay, so one of the reasons that she went to MMA was because of money. If she does lose, right, I don't think this will be her last boxing fight because she hasn't made enough money to retire from the sport.
No, ella se va all in for PFL.
Rebrand herself completely, and I'm pretty sure she would be gunning for that rematch, whether it's next or next year or whatever.
Here's the thing.
Can I say something here?
Boxing ability is being underrated.
This is why I say it's more.
At the same time.
This is why I say it's more insecurity than ego. First, when you have to lie to yourself and lie to yourself like I'm the draw, I'm the A side. You had to go over there. You tried your hand at pay-per-view over here. You're where you live. Nobody cares about your fights. The stuff you tell yourself, 90% of it in terms of your drawing power and your relevance in the sport is a lie. So you're lying to yourself.
We got a good debate going. We got a real.
Can I say something here?
Whenever you want to go next, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say this, man. I think it's funny how you guys brought up Ronda Rousey to segue into this topic, right? What did Ronda do after she lost when she came? Like, let me just go straight to it. Like, she went on the Ellen DeGeneres show, right?
Oh God,
and she was basically like she looked good, but like mentally she was a hot mess.
Yeah, she cried. I think they even had to cut the show because it was live.
So yeah, there's some parallels between her and Clarissa Shields, in which like they hold a lot of pride and they talk a lot of shit to really keep that persona going. And if Clarissa gets knocked out, I'm just gonna say this, based on what happened to Ronda afterwards, I think her PFO plans might be put on hold, man. Because like if she feels devastated, man, her man gotta be there, and you know what, and then gonna have babies.
And then we got to add to this too. The racial. Listen. The racial element that Clarissa went at when Savannah wasn't even going there. You add a loss on top of that, with all the shit she's been saying, like it'll turn into Teofimo Lopez again. She'll get delusional like that.
Listen, and Teofimo is still dealing with that shit, bro.
Yeah, he's still
dealing with that shit.
Her man gotta be there, man.
Is calling himself the greatest of this era.
It all depends on
Teofimo
who she
Shields.
has, that support system that she has at home. Okay, so I'm just gonna say this, right? So someone said about the race thing. I think I talked about this last time, right? So she was trying to market that or interact that into the wrong market because the fight is not in America. That shit would have worked here because you know how we are. Anytime there's white and black, everybody and their mama wants to come out and cap for everybody, right? So she tried to sell a fight to the wrong audience because the fight is in the UK. I'm not really sure y'all get down like that, right? So, and then as far as money, like you said, her PFL contract, because she lost that last fight, right? So I do believe it can be put on hold. That's why I know for a fact that if she does lose with Marshall, she's going to go for that rematch because financially she's not as stable as she would want to be, and she has spoke about this multiple times.
Let me say this, Pat.
That she would rematch. Now, espérate, right? Now, as far as her losing, and having, mental, breakdown, sometimes you have to go through that. Sometimes you have to cry. You have to punch the wall. You have to, be down at your hardest to crawl up out of that shit and come even harder. Maybe that's what she has to go through in order to be just better. Right now, as far as her saying, "Oh, I'm the A side, I'm this," and blah blah blah, I don't see that's her being insecure. I just see her talking shit. That's not out of the norm for her. She's always talked shit.
I'm gonna say this. I was with you up until that. I firmly believe, because it harkens back to what she said about Showtime upon them parting ways. She just couldn't accept. She said she wanted to be put on pay-per-view. And I remember what I read, that they basically told her, you don't have the metrics for that to be on pay-per-view. And it seems to me that she cannot accept that no, you're not a draw. You do not command a large audience. Even harder to accept, and it's the truth, at least to me, the way it looks to me. If you have a difference of opinion, I can respect that. But to me, you're only here because Savannah has a little bit of juice. If you didn't have her to fight, who would you have to fight? You did next to nothing with Marie-Eve Dicaire on that pay-per-view. You didn't sell anything with that thing. Showtime, you already done with them. So if not for Savannah Marshall and Sky Sports being invested in Savannah Marshall, you probably wouldn't even be boxing right now.
And I think that's the issue with her, and why because she even sat down and said, you guys are hyping this fight to be all of this, and it's not. And that's her irritation. The fact that she, what she's accomplished, what she's done, and for a whole bunch of people to tell her, no, if you beat Savannah, this is your legacy fight. And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Have you seen my accomplishments? So I understand the irritation. I get that, right? And I understand everything she's been through. That's why I feel that to her, it's not necessarily about Savannah or about, her winning back then. It's more about the naysayers. And I think that's where, if she does lose, that's where she'll crack, because not necessarily that she lost, it's the fact that the energy that's going to come behind that.
And I'm going to say this, I got to push back on that, to go back to more insecurities. When you're an athlete at that level and you got to go through Twitter and search who's saying your name, not even adding you, and go through that and block them and talk shit, like, what the fuck? You got mental issues up there. I'm sorry.
You know what? Also,
go ahead.
Also, too, you got to remember, Savannah Marshall is the one fighter, even though it was the amateurs, that beat her. That still weighs in her mind somewhere, and it bothers her. It bothered her then, and it bothers her now.
I think it bothers her. I think it would. This is what I think, and I'm with you. I believe that it bothered her a little bit before, that this fighter can always say that they beat me, but if she actually beats her in the pros, I'm telling you, honest to God, I don't think she recovers from that. It's different losing in the cage when you're a novice, but this is what you do. You a double gold medalist, 2-time undisputed, 3-division, 3-time lineal champion. If she lose this, it ain't gonna be like that PFL shit.
But
Jules, can I add something?
Go ahead, Jay. Real quick, Jay. When you react the way you do after seeing the truth on the award-winning Ring IQ when he just said the facts about what was going on in that video, and you have to attack the man? That's fucking insecurity. That's
I ain't
not
gonna
ego.
lie, like if I
That's
wasn't as
insecurity.
forgiving as I am, or maybe it's just because I have a lot of things to be happy for, so I ain't gonna lie, that was fucked up though. When I think about it, I'm like, fam, I'm probably one of the only people that bought your pay-per-view.
I know.
Go ahead, Jay.
But yeah, it's like, I mean, because she could sit there all she wants to say that loss to Savannah doesn't bother her, but we see it on your face. It does. You're not doing a very good job of hiding it. You're
That's
not.
the-
I mean,
That's the issue too, is that you guys have all said the same thing. She's extremely insecure. She's not moving like a professional athlete, because you guys remember, you got to be a professional athlete in the ring or on the field, but you also got to be a professional athlete outside those things too. And with all due respect, she has not moved herself very well, and that is why a lot of people have dropped her. A lot of major networks, that's why major sponsorships, they can tell that too. They can see that it's going to be a problem. So people distance themselves away from her for a reason. If she loses, then, like you have said before, then it's over. There's no place she can go.
I got to agree with that. Like, to me, this is the weird thing. Clarissa Shields is actually very accomplished, right? Very accomplished. The most accomplished fighter at or around those weights. And because she's so accomplished, and because she's fought who needed to be fought at those weights, right? You don't have nothing else but this. Well, what are you going to do, fight Franchon again? You fought her in your debut.
Let me ask you this, Jules. Her and Alicia are both from Michigan, Detroit, Flint, both from the same kind of upbringing. They both talk that shit. But the difference outside of the ring and actually conducting business and being interpersonal with people like Alicia. They don't like Clarissa and how she does business, how she can just duck herself when dealing with other people. That's throughout the whole industry.
Well, I think that's because if we're gonna compare another fighter to Clarissa, it's because Clarissa has, and I can't really blame her for this. If I were a two-time gold medalist, right?
Thank you. Go ahead. I know exactly where you're going with this.
If I were a two-time undisputed champion, I would expect to be treated a little better. I would expect that people would show me a little bit more respect. So I can't fault her for that. We can't just compare anyone to her because, well, everybody didn't accomplish all the things that she did. And I know that I often dissect it, but who am I comparing her to? Katie Taylor, all right? Now, is the average fighter as accomplished as Katie? No, so take Katie out of it. If you just look at Clarissa by herself, she's not accomplished. She went to the Olympics 2 times. Do you know how many girls in how many countries wish they could come back with 1 medal, let alone 2?
But you would have to tend to agree that people like us diehards, we see these things. We see people winning medals. We see people, undisputed, winning different at different weight classes, etc. But for the common fan and for businesses, they're going to see things from a very minimalistic point of view. So if they don't care if she won a medal, they don't care if she's undefeated, they don't care this and this. How is she approachable? Is she easy to talk to? Does she appear well on television? Is she nice?
Can we market her?
Okay, so I'm gonna argue just to argue, right? So I'll say this, right? If she were I'm gonna go there. If she were a man, okay, and she had the accomplishments that she had, that's why she's always wait a minute, let me finish. That's why I think it was when they were talking about Loma on ESPN, and she had to correct them, like, no, like I did what was it, the 4 or 5 different weight classes faster or whatever, because they didn't acknowledge her, right? So I understand the feeling of, hey, I've done this, you know what I mean? If you're all about, like women, and you have like all these women out here talking, blah, blah, why don't you mention me, when you're mentioning these guys, when you're mentioning, like the undisputed, where is my picture? Where am I at? So it's always been for her, like, even if you followed her, like for her life story, holy shit, she has gone through some I mean, her family structure is non-existent. I don't know if you ever get a chance or if you want to, if you don't. Her family story is fucking atrocious. Okay,
Yo
so
voy a
to
decir esto.
go from where
She's a
she's been
survivor.
at to now, it's like, you know, she's done pretty good for herself. So I understand her saying, like, listen, you know, I want my respect too. Now, where I won't agree with her is the way she goes about it. But I know, like, you know, sometimes it's like, you know, I've told you once, I've told you twice. How many times do I have to tell you? And how should I tell you before you start taking me serious? So from that aspect, I do understand her.
But then those are insecurities. The constant battle for respect and acknowledgement accents mental fragility and insecurities.
Yes, it is. Oh, no,
Because
yeah,
wait
exactly.
a minute,
That's the
wait a minute,
textbook.
because I can say, okay, because I can say it's not necessarily insecurity, right? When you're trying to okay, so when you're trying to levitate a whole sport, right, for women, where women don't get the acknowledgement, if you're not acknowledging me, okay, what makes me think that you're going to acknowledge the person that comes behind me? So sometimes you have to be that voice to piss people off, right? For then
Because Katie
eventually
Taylor
the
doesn't get
person behind
acknowledged,
you
right?
to come out and say something.
Exactly.
Because Katie Taylor doesn't get
Here's the thing.
acknowledged,
To
right?
compromise, hold on. To compromise, why
same.
why is she seeking outside validation for her internal accomplishments?
It's not seeking outside.
Yes, it is.
Okay? No,
You just said, why ain't they respecting?
Well,
Why
to
ain't they talking
compromise,
about me?
to compromise,
you said
she is.
if it was a man, let's just keep. If we're keeping it real on here, that's just a double fucking standard of the world we live in.
No, I was. You know
Hold
what I
on.
was gonna say. Wait a minute. Don't say shit. You know what I was gonna say. If she was a man, have you ever heard of Guillermo Regandio?
Exactly.
Gold medalist. Did he just sell because he had gold medals? No. He was his lineal in super bantamweight. He was lineal and unified. And I feel like some of the things that held him back are some of the same things that hold her back. And these things are things that really boil down to preference at the consumer level. Rigo did not have a style that attracts a lot of people. That's just, and that's not an injustice. It's not, oh, this is no, that's just boils down to preference. All right?
And I get that. But in women's boxing, there aren't a lot of faces. So when you have someone as accomplished as her and she doesn't get mentioned, I believe that I understand her frustration. Like, hey, you know what I mean? We're also here. So in my head, right, this is me trying to make sense of her madness. In my head, you know, she's saying if they're not, you know, saying my name, you know, why would they bring up, you know, like Cecilia and all these other girls?
Well, no, espera, no diga, no, don't make her. Wait. That you're not gonna do. Don't elevate her to martyrdom, porque ella le faltó el respeto a Cecilia. Le faltó el respeto a Cecilia.
I just put her out. I just put her out there. But you know what I was trying to say, as far as acknowledging women, right? She's trying to put herself in the forefront because she has the most accomplishments as far, you know, from anyone else, right? So her thing was, you know, if you're not mentioning me, if you're not saying these things, you know what I mean? How focused are you on women's boxing and what women have accomplished?
Well, they are, because there are
Let me
women,
to push back on that.
popular than her.
Well, no, here's the thing. To push back on that, when Ronda Rousey was getting her buzz and Dana White was saying, oh, no, we'll never have women in the UFC. We'll never do this. It was other women getting around Ronda and buying the tickets at Strikeforce, watching her fights. And Clarissa's been in the game long enough. Women aren't supporting her to where the men can't ignore her anymore. And that's just the facts.
You're absolutely correct. And that's what I was going to say. First of all, I can't make you love me if you don't. There's a song by Bonnie Raitt. You cannot make people love people who they don't. She's got a very abrasive personality. People love a guy like Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor today now is not a very good fighter, but he's going to draw eyes because people like his personality. One, she's not a very personal person. Second of all, with all due respect, Nobody's watching women's basketball or women's boxing. You should ask the question, where are the women? Why are the women not watching these women boxing? Why are the women not filling up these stadiums? Because when you talk about the respect they deserve and how there should be equality, the things that you say, fine, then put up or shut up. Where are the women? Why are the women not supporting?
I'm a lot more. Let me report, because I am an international man of mystery. I'm very mysterious. Nobody knows where I am. I'm not even here right now. Right?
I can't even see you.
I'm not even here.
Yeah.
I will say that the audience that you're talking about, Villain, I believe those women are in Europe. Now, they're not here in America, to your point, and that directly pertains to Clarissa because, well, she is based out of America. But if you're talking about that female audience that will help carry the sport, I do believe that those women are in Europe. I do believe that audience that you're talking about that would do that. More importantly, though, it is a valid point to raise that, well, when Ronda was coming through, it was the girls that was looking up to her. It was the girls that was fucking with her before the guys. The guys came after. So if you're not getting it popping like that, it ain't because of this or that. It's just because you're not popping like that. And that's not an injustice either, that you're not popping like that. Let's not turn this into martyrdom because you're not popping like that. Rigo was pretty goddamn accomplished as an amateur too, and he never popped like that.
You know, and not to.
Can I add something real quick? Ronda was saying the same stuff Clarissa's saying. Oh, what's up, Floyd? Ronda was out here gassing herself up, saying she could beat up men, and the women loved it, and the women were at the fucking sports bars and all this shit every time she fought, and showed that Dana was like, "Fuck, I gotta sign her. I gotta fucking create a whole division of women's sports."
Do you know why he would sign her? Because they make money. If you're
Can
gonna
I
make
introduce?
money, anybody.
Go ahead. Hold on. He has had the chance to talk. Go ahead, Julio.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a point of compromise. Where a lot of top athletes in any sport are insecure. They do have insecurities. That's actually what makes them great. Even in the sport we watch, Floyd is one of the most insecure motherfuckers that's ever lived, and of course he's one of the best. And I think she does deserve to have a chip on her shoulder because she has accomplished a lot. She should feel like she isn't, looked at as great as she thinks she is. But that doesn't mean that I have to like it. She's annoying. She fucking name searches on Twitter and does all the annoying shit that we've been over. That doesn't mean we have to like it or we have to accept it. Someone mentioned Alicia earlier. She didn't have a Showtime deal. She was actually, in a lot of ways, an even bigger underdog than Clarissa. She didn't have a Showtime deal. She had to hustle and grind her way to that Terry Harper fight where she's finally getting the recognition that she deserves. Someone mentioned on Twitter too, and comparing her and Michaela, where they basically had the same amateur career. Alicia just didn't get to the Olympics, and you see how that affected her career. So, yeah, just because you're great doesn't mean I have to accept the fact that you're unlikable. Unfortunately,
no, and I think she knows that people. Her thing is not necessarily that she wants people to like her. She's always said that respect is what she's looking for. Unfortunately, she's looking for it in the wrong way because she's always throwing her accomplishments, but it's the way that she does it and the fact that she is unlikable, regardless to what she's accomplished. It's not going to change how people see her.
To be fair though, the whole race thing that happened a couple weeks back, come on, that's
not a good look.
Not just talking about accomplishments at that point.
Another thing too is she's kind of reckless with her actions, and she doesn't, she says stuff and she doesn't watch it. She acts a certain way, doesn't watch it.
Let's just call a spade a spade. Let's call a spade a spade. In today's climate, especially today's climate, where everybody's looking to be mad at something, regardless of whatever, regardless of what arguments anybody wants to make, if you say that, the other folk are going to look at that like, fam, we could never get away with saying no shit like that. So you just going to say any old fucking thing, and we're not supposed to say nothing. We just supposed to take it. Those are the feelings that you're going to evoke. You're going to make more enemies.
And you don't gain respect that way.
When her brother popped that old guy, the trainer,
James Ali Bashir.
Yeah,
James Ali Bashir.
And she turned around and defended her brother. Well, guess what? You're being reckless about your own image, and you just hurt yourself because you defended your brother for popping an elderly guy.
And if you think about how it all started, it started with, I believe it was her sister, who I felt was a little bit too close to the action. These are family members that are there. with an opposing team that is here to beat you. So you gotta control your entourage. Like I dig it. Like, and I said it's not Clarissa's fault, but you gotta kind of have a lid on that a little bit though. Like, fam, like tell your sister to go cool out and sit in the car.
It's what you do.
Jules, y'all remember when Devin said, "I'm never gonna let a white boy beat me." I mean that may come back to bite him in the butt one day. You never know.
Oh, of course it will.
I mean,
it did Bernard.
Yeah, but that was bullshit then too, though. Like that's not cool. That wasn't cool then either. Like,
wait. Let me say this. I'm with the bullshit. You know, if you going to talk shit, because I'm not against people talking shit. I just know that the more shit you talk, the more you paint yourself into a corner. Because very few fighters are going to get out of this motherfucker with unbeaten records. I love Katie, but she got too much heart. Somebody going to end up beating her.
If she sticks around long enough, somebody will.
You know, Clarissa, I feel like people are there's certain elements of her Olympic runs and certain elements of her pro career that I feel people gloss over, and these are important elements. How much resistance did you really face to become a 2-time undisputed champion? 3 of the belts you won were vacant at middleweight.
Not much.
1 belt you won at super middleweight was vacant. So 1 belt vacant at super middleweight, 3 belts vacant at middleweight, 3 more belts vacant at junior middleweight. All right. And I feel like people talk it up to the point where, you know why people always bring up her accomplishments? Because they don't know what she had to go through to get them. And I feel the Marshall fight is actually a closer fight than people realize because of this. Not a single fucking one of those girls you fought would go the distance with Savannah Marshall. Not one.
Can I say something, Julius?
Go ahead.
Okay, a comparison was made between Loma and Clarissa Shields. We can say fairly that Clarissa Shields is a more accomplished boxer than Lomachenko, but we cannot say Lomachenko and Clarissa Shields have been conducting their respective careers in the same way. We have been watching Lomachenko being dug division after division, and he moved up 2 weight classes because he wanted to become undisputed, and that's the way, lightweight, that's the way he got the chance to become undisputed. He didn't make it. He was defeated by Teofimo Lopez. We all know it. But on the other hand, we have Clarissa Shields fighting Savannah Marshall. We can classify her like we can establish as a comparison with Teofimo Lopez in some way. He's skilled, he has potential, he doesn't have reached her ceiling, but between those two, who is approaching the fight in a way like, okay, I want to make this, I want to do this. Clarissa Shields has been bitching about Savannah Marshall a lot. Lomachenko gave concessions to that fight with Teofimo Lopez. If I remember correctly, he gave part of his own purse.
Teofimo Lopez
to get the fight. So
what?
We cannot say Lomachenko and Clarissa Shields, even if one is more accomplished than the other, they are the same kind of boxers or the same kind of professionals.
This is the point that I want to make. They're both double Olympic gold medalists. But if you look at the run, what is it with Loma? 345-1.
Oh, no, 395-1.
395.
96. Yeah.
What I think people need to understand is that the level, and Savannah said it herself, at our weights, there are literally there's nowhere near that many girls to have to fight. So when you say that she's a double gold medalist, it's not a knock on her. Yes, you're accomplished, but I think it gives off an air that is not very accurate. It's not accurate. You know what I mean? Katie Taylor, and I've said this, Katie Taylor couldn't have become an undisputed champion in 2 fights at any of those weights if she wanted to. The competition was too stiff. But at the weights where you campaign, there were 3 vacant titles. There were 3 of them.
Yeah,
and to be
about
fair to
that, about
Clarissa,
that, Jules.
it's not her fault that those divisions are superficial,
And I
but
don't
it's
put it
still
on her.
objectively true. It's still true though, like that her competition just hasn't been as stiff.
You know,
About that, Jules.
how can you trash Savannah Marshall's quality of competition when you fought Hannah Rankin, didn't you? You fought her, and there is a difference. Now, I'm not saying that knockouts are everything. I'm just saying it sounds peculiar. It sounds insecure when you say things like, "Oh, she hasn't fought anybody but bums." Hey, 2 of the same bums that she fought, you fought. They just couldn't go the distance with her. Almost nobody can. The fighters you fought, you think
that's a good super chat right there.
Shields would have excelled in a non-social media days like Floyd. If Floyd's antagonist persona was today, he's petty enough to also argue with everybody. Remember when he called into Rude Jude? I don't remember that.
Oh yeah. He called
Yeah,
the
I
radio
did.
station and argued with some guy who was like, and they went back and forth for like 20 minutes. It was hilarious. This dude was
All right, the rugged man.
I remember.
You know,
That shit was funny. I gotta find that shit and show you, Jules.
Another thing that I didn't like was when Clarissa turned around and called out Katie, who's like how many weight classes below her.
And that was ridiculous. Like those are the glaring things to me that highlight the insecurities. They're like, fam, how much sense you make? You know this is a low ass woman all the way down there at 135. Why would you even mention her? And the only reason that I could have come up with is insecurities. At the top of the totem pole, it's just you and her.
Yeah, Jules, just imagine if
both her and
out
Breakup are like bona fide legends of the game.
A little bit of, is there how much of it is envy, Jules, of how the UK treats their women fighters?
Well, I mean, I would say that there's an envy element there because of adulation, but also Katie Taylor had the luxury of rivals. She had a luxury that Clarissa doesn't really have at super middle or even junior middle, to where there were several fighters that can give you a good fight. Yeah, at these weights, it was, at middleweight, it was Hammer, but I picked Clarissa to win that fight. Like, bro, Hammer unofficially has been stopped before. Just because people don't know that doesn't change that. Yep. Hammer is not on Clarissa's level. Now, this girl, this is why I think, yes, this is different, because I can legitimately see a scenario where Clarissa gets stopped, and that is it. No second fight. You need to be afraid, Kat. You need to be afraid. You should be.
You
should be.
You don't need to
By
be
the way, Jules, quick question. Was it Serena McCoy that said that Clarissa had a bad attitude?
Oh, yeah. A lot of fighters, bro. A lot of fighters. But she was one of them. She was one of them.
Pat, you don't need to be afraid about Clarissa. You need to be afraid about what's going to happen to Big Femi.
You know what? We're not gonna do this. We're not gonna do this. We're not gonna do this. I already told you we're not gonna do this.
Isn't the baseball score in terms of like vacant titles collected 6-2, Clarissa to Loma?
I mean, yeah, because he collected some vacant titles too.
Yeah.
But let me say this. I've actually given Clarissa more consideration than I've given Loma. I had her at number 1 once. I had it, but when Katie did her thing, it does change things. You can't. Nobody that Clarissa fought is a Persoon. And even if you tell me that, well, that fight with Persoon was close enough that Katie looks like she lost it. Yeah, Clarissa didn't have nobody like that. 168. There was no Persoon. And no, it's not Hammer.
Big fish, small pond.
Exactly. It's not Hammer. Hammer has been unofficially knocked out. Just because you don't know about it doesn't mean it didn't happen. She was knocked out.
I saw Sophie Matisse.
That girl got robbed.
And the only reason they didn't rule it a cold knockout is because they were protecting Christina.
Yep.
You cannot compare Christina to Persoon. You cannot even compare Christina to the girl she fought at 140, the Greek Dominican girl, Leonardo. That fucking girl is dangerous, fam. She beat Alicia. You see what I mean? There is a lot of depth when it comes to Katie's opponents that, no, you don't have that at 154 and 168. I would say the fighter that I think is the best fighter that she fought anecdotally would have to be Hannah, because I would have picked Hannah to beat Christina. But on paper, it's Christina. And when we look at Christina, you all right. You all right. But you ain't no Persoon. You hear that Persoon, you know what time it is, B. Persoon, like, you know what time it is, B. You tell me wholeheartedly that Persoon don't got what it takes to give Mayor a long fucking night. Or release
shit.
It's Persoon, fam. Like, you know, it's not like if you win, it ain't gonna be easy. They won't be there.
You're gonna know you've been in a fight.
Now, if I say Christina Hammer, those emotions don't come out. If I say Marie-Eve DeCare, those emotions don't come out. Most people don't remember the first champion that Clarissa beat, Nikki Adler. You don't. It ain't the same, and you know why. The depth is not there. It's not Clarissa's fault. I never said it was, but I got to call a spade a spade. It's a difference being undisputed at 160 and being undisputed at 135. Look at Katie's resume, fam. Persoon 2 times, Amanda Serrano, Natasha Jonas. It's not a game out here, B.
Hey, Jules.
I wanted to ask you, Jules, and the panel, switch gears a little bit. What do you want to see from Tio? Do you want to see an early knockout, or you want to see him get some rounds in? What would you prefer?
Big wish list. I want to see him. The main thing that I need to see, regardless of when, is I want to see him go back to setting up his knockouts, because what he did with George was atrocious. That was the worst abuse of power I have seen in a boxing match since Wilder.
He fought like an asshole.
He fought like like you fighting like a madman. Like you're better than that. When you get guys out of there, yes, you're strong enough to hurt guys, but it's not blunt force. He sets up the knockout. So that's what I need to see, regardless of when. That he remembers how to set up his punches, because that's where the knockouts are. Setting up your punches. I don't care if it's round 1 or round 10. So long as he's not getting beat up or hit too much, there's a lot of things I can forgive, because I know psychologically he's not in a great place, you know. But if he can set up his knockout, whether it's round 1 or round 10, I'm okay. That's what I want to see.
What's your verdict on Teofimo's current standing at 140?
He's shown he has one punch power when he sets it up.
Hey, Jules, real quick. The reason why people want to argue with you is because just before what you were doing and talking about, you tell the truth about a lot of these so-called fanboys and, you know, and fangirls, heroes. And the thing is, but you're not, they take this hate/criticism. You're telling the truth. They don't like it. They can't handle it. And they get mad. And then they talk about you just like the idiots who said you stole the word talk, TAWK, or whatever. And they seek you out to argue with you and mess with you because of these reasons.
Well,
that's why.
Another reason.
Like, let me tell Kat. Look,
you kill Golden
Hold
Cat.
on. Let me tell Kat. A couple of weeks ago, and you know these Twitter people, I'm not going to say no names because I don't want to even fucking encourage them. Apparently, they had a whole issue with me using the word talk, TAWK, not realizing I've literally been spelling it that way for years before I even had a Twitter account.
Wait, they addressed you?
Who's making all that noise?
Who's going in their glove compartment?
Everybody's
sounds like somebody's about to get on an airplane or something.
Yeah, like who pulling out the hammer out of the glove compartment? There was a whole thing, and the only reason I knew, Kat, or found out, is because people sent me screenshots, because tú sabes que yo no hablo con esa gente, yo no brego con esa gente, yo no quiero estar discutiendo con esa gente.
They were seriously mad saying he stole that word.
Yeah, literally. They said that I stole it from them, and I'm like,
you put on a ski mask and stole the word.
Jules, you know why they're mad? You know why they're mad? You're just giving it to us straight because it's the only way you know how to give it to you.
I'm gonna give y'all a little secret. I'm gonna give y'all a little secret on Jules. I'm gonna expose something. They really get mad because, in Capricorn fashion, he loves to take stances that have irrefutable facts.
Yeah.
Jules will never debate something he can't win.
Yeah. That's how you're supposed to do it.
Because he don't like to lose.
Of course. Yes, you're right. That's true. But this is the thing. That's how it's supposed to be. If we're gonna debate something and get into an exchange of ideas, not just me, the both of us need to be well versed enough to go back and forth. I'm not going to debate something I don't know because that would be stupid, and I would be stupid to debate something I don't know. You got to do the legwork. That's not really pertaining to what we're talking about now, because it's people that's going out of their way. Like, yo, dog, why are you mentioning me? You know, like if I see a person's name, I don't even say, oh, this person is a bitch or this person is a this. I don't even do that. Whereas with me, yeah, they fucking hate me, dog.
And the thing is, they know they have an open forum over here if they want to come debate it.
But they don't. That's just it. They want to stay away and talk shit, but they don't
want to end up like that. Who is the guy that called a couple weeks ago in his truck that said "fuck if I know" about
Dury Jones?
They don't want to end up a punchline.
for Tony Jokic. You have to look at it from you have to look at it from this vantage point. When people collectively decide to get in a lane in whatever they believe, I don't care if it's politics, boxing, sports, whatever it is. When they fall into a lane and they will come together with other people, it's a group. They have to stick together. I hate to say it, stay on quote unquote code or however some are saying it. The point being is that no matter how far you stray, if there's somebody else outside of there or people or a singular person that is going to disagree with that, they're going to stand by that. They'll find whatever stupid way they have to debate, a lot of times even emotional, to do that. What your problem is that you are not staying in a lane that you're supposed to be. You're not, I mean, there are people who are just big in the PBC. So they're, no matter what happens, they're going to argue. There's a guy right now arguing on Twitter about how pay-per-views are a good thing. And if you don't want to pay for them, you shouldn't have to. You use logic. And when the people who subscribe to it, follow logic, they will do whatever they have to do, shame, insult, whatever it is. Yeah. You're an intelligent guy. There's a lot of people who gravitate towards you because you retain knowledge. You know a lot about history. You're a voice or a mouthpiece for people who agree and have the same ideologies as you do. And you are the easiest punching bag for that. That's why they go after you, because you are a symbol of people who think the same collectively as we do.
That's the nicest thing I've ever heard. They villain you want to buy him.
I found your channel because all the other channels on YouTube were basically like Perez Hilton of boxing. Like it was all just like TMZ gossip shit where the title is in all caps and it's like clickbait. Like no disrespect. Well, actually, full disrespect. But yeah, it's the shit Boxing Ego does basically.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Also, too, people come here and act stupid on top of it, like that Mr. PBC guy. You know. Come on, man, bet me. It sounded drunk.
Yeah, I mean, I said Canelo might end up losing the second B-ball fight. So what's the bet? You know what I mean? I said he might lose that fight. Like, what's the bet?
You know, or like the dude who came here the other night and said that, you know, Tank was better than Duran and Duran was just a puncher.
Yo, fellas, hold up. Yo, fellas, hold up. Wait, I got something special for y'all. Y'all ready?
Uh-oh.
All I'm saying is, bro, the footwork, the speed, the power of a Tank Davis at 130.
Yo, the way he said that shit, yo, like he was really break. Like in his mind, he was really.
And Jules, your expression the entire time was pray. You like just put your hand on your face, like, oh, this nigga, bro.
He really thought he was Teddy Atlas.
What am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to say about a grown ass man that is equating what are 3 fights at lightweight? That's what we're talking about. Tank has only fought as a lightweight 3 times, right? Mm-hmm. To one of the greatest lightweights that was ever a lightweight.
Not even that. One of the greatest pound for pound fighters that ever lived.
But I'm not. I don't. You know why I don't bring in the pound for pound shit? Because I don't have to. I could just stick to lightweight with Duran. Well, yeah. But when I bring in, do you think that Gervonta Davis could go to 160 pounds and fight the #1 middleweight in the world and even be competitive?
He
We
wouldn't
know
go
the answer.
12 rounds with Gennady Golovkin right now.
Do you think that he could go to welterweight right now and fight the #1 welterweight in the world and beat him?
Oh, he knocked Terrence Crawford out. Let's be real. Yeah, easy. Like,
and what that
Because
dude,
that
that
is
dude,
who we talking about. We talking about Roberto motherfucking Duran.
that dude saying all that didn't realize he's saying Tank is better than Sugar Ray Leonard.
He would have to be. No, he's saying that Tank is better. Put it in perspective. He's saying if Tank is better than Duran, that would have to mean that Tank is better than both the guys that are at welterweight right now. What you telling me is that you think Tank would beat Errol Spence Jr. and he would beat Terrence Crawford.
oh, he beat
Duran did that. He went up
both.
to welter and he beat Sugar Ray Leonard.
Jules, the look on your face was priceless the whole time, too, man.
What was going through, like, seriously, what was going through your mind at that point?
The vein was
I
about
just want I don't want to be alive.
To explode out of the side of your head at any second, man.
Honestly, I was irritated because it's like they trying to force you. It's like a person like that is trying to force you to like what they like. And when you know, look, what you like about this guy is not his boxing. Let's get that right out of the way. Let's not kid ourselves. I know what you like about that guy. And you can't handle that the world doesn't give a fuck about that. I don't care if he lives down the street from you. I don't care if you identify with him. I don't care what you have in common with him. What the fuck does that have to do with me? What irritates me is you keep trying to force people. You keep trying to impose your views on people. That's why it irritates me. Like, fam, you can love him, but leave me alone.
And leave Roberto Duran out of it, please. Leave him out of it.
Like I say that all. Look, there's a dude on Twitter right now. Ugas asked, "Do not me specifically?" He put out an open question to all his to all the people that follow him, and he asked if the people, everybody, right, do they feel that Tim Bradley has a Hall of Fame resume? So I chose to respond. And I said, yeah, I do think he has a Hall of Fame resume, yada, yada, yada. Somebody shows up in my comments and they want to I'm like, bro, I don't care if you think he has a Hall of Fame resume. I didn't fucking ask you. I don't care what your opinion is. Ugas put a question out there. You're not answering his question by addressing me. And this is what irritates me. And what he's telling me is his feelings. I don't care about your feelings. I don't care if you think he did A, B. I don't care. I didn't ask you. Tell Ugas, not me.
I mean, Jules, it's like, this is why I don't get into it with these dudes on Twitter, because like Shanicia, like a while back, Shanicia Strada, she put up a post of her hitting the heavy bag, right? And I just put up something like in response to like, damn, I'd hate to be that bag. This dude responded to me, Tabba, like, oh yeah, but her punch placement is off. She's not even centering her foot right. The punch I'm like, who asked you all that?
That's
like,
I swear to God, Jay, that's me. Because I'm like, bro, I'm on Twitter for the people I talk to, which is y'all. And if I don't be talking to you like that, I'm just gonna come out and say it like, fam, I don't care what you think about boxing. Why are you talking to me?
Do you know why? I'll tell you why. I'll answer the question. Because they want your validation, because they value the fact that you know boxing. So if they want to try to convince you their point of view. The reason why people seek you out to speak to you is because you have a valid voice that makes sense. They want to be validated. That's why they specifically look for someone like yourself.
I'm gonna go to Cat with the shit because I know the Cat is not afraid. Wait. I'm gonna go to Cat with the shit because Cat is not afraid to disagree. Cat, why do these people bother me?
Julius, we had this conversation a while back when you had a certain interaction with somebody that shall not be named. And yo te dije, it's a lose-lose situation for you. You should have never said shit. Should have kept to yourself. And then you proceeded to come on here y hablar de melones, de mango, de chalchicha. Bro, you should have left that shit alone.
Who this person? I gotta know who it is. Who this person?
That was different.
No, it's not different, man.
So you blame me? Are you saying that you blame me?
And you know que yo te dije, I was like, bro, why are you entertaining that shit? As soon as she came sideways, you should have been like, okay, you got it. Mute and block and keep it pushing. Eso es lo que yo hago.
Ok, pero ella, te voy a decir algo. La razón que yo me defendí fue porque ella dijo algo que no me gustó. Ella dijo algo. No, ella estaba diciendo algo como que yo se lo quiero metérselo. Like, no diga eso. Like that, I could have been a bitch, and like you see, people call me a bitch all the time. I ain't worried about it.
If that's how you felt, you should have went to her DMs and been like, "Yo, I don't appreciate blah blah blah." If she would have came with attitude, you would have been like, "You know what, you got it," and kept it pushing. I don't know why you be in it, and I watch you all the time, entertaining random bullshit, and I'd be laughing because I'm like, one of these days tú aprender.
When?
What one of these days tú aprender?
No, yo no discuto, espera, yo no discuto con esta gente ya, no, ya, I hit block, like, I don't argue with nobody, like, even now, when I see that people mention me, right, yeah, I laugh, like, I can laugh, but I don't even get into a full-on fucking, like, fuck that, bro, like, you know what I mean? But that, like I said, when it came to that, that was different, because, like, you went a little bit too far. Went too far, pero yo, that shit was like a year ago, fam.
Okay, before then it was damn, I don't even remember the dude. The people that said that you stole talk, weren't you going back and forth with them before that?
No. Like literally, no. I found out that they were saying a bunch of stuff about. I found out that all of that was going on, and I didn't know. And I didn't find out until it was over, and people showed me screenshots because I didn't go. Like, bro, I'm almost 40. You think I'm gonna have a full-on debate over the word talk?
No, before el jugo de guayaba. Before you got before that, I think was it him? I don't remember who it was, but you got into it with it started on Twitter and then it came onto YouTube. At least he came on the platform, said what he said, and then he bounced. What was his name? I don't
Hablando del cucarachón.
I don't remember who he was.
El cucarachón. Que tiene la cara de una cucaracha, el muchacho.
Yo, that's hilarious.
Why's he gotta be a cockroach, man?
But like, bro, like I'm telling you, mute and block is the best policy. And people are gonna go back and forth because they know that you have an itch and you like to scratch, and you know that.
Right. Yo, that's how I fuck with cat. You got listen for everybody out there. You got to have a cat in the circle. Why? Because they're gonna tell you the truth of it, and it's true. I do be having an itch that I be wanting to scratch.
It's like Jules, deep down you want it, don't you? Like you gotta crate a little bit.
More like I let it build up so much that I'm like, nah, y'all not just gonna be using my name for shit. You know what I mean? Like I should be mature enough to be like, man,
that's where I.
It's like sometimes you just can't. You gotta.
I disagree.
Cat is right in the sense that
some damn good entertainment, though.
This is where Cat's right. Like, I hit the mute so fast, but I don't block because I'll still let them talk to themselves.
No. Yeah, I do that.
I hit the mute real fast, and if I do have to,
I do.
If I do engage to where I shut it down, it always goes to some elitism classes. I'm like, bro.
No,
you can't even afford the fucking. You can't,
bro. J Money said, "I'm not." Yo, somebody listen. Somebody else read that. I'm not gonna read that.
I'll read it. Mango juice and the expired. Nope. What the fuck's that mean?
You know what it means. Mango Ciroc.
Oh my God! Stop.
30 pesos. ¿Tú crees que yo voy a pagar 30 pesos por esta mierda?
Eso es lo que yo iba a decir. Si fuera 15 pesos o 10 pesos, I would buy it. Pero yo no voy a gastar 30 pesos en esa pelea. No. Just off of general principles. No, fam.
Bro,
Tevin Farmer versus.
I thought Mickey Bay retired. Didn't he retire?
I thought Tevin Farmer retired, bro.
Bro, like, what's the point of this fight? I don't understand.
Didn't they say they were gonna do it in Ghana and they got Sprite involved?
Yeah. So where's it at? Where's it at now?
And Julius, can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Leo.
Can we agree now that Maurice Hooker is garbage?
We agree to who's garbage?
Can we agree now?
Who'd you say?
I think I mean he hasn't left me with much of a choice, Leo.
He said, can we agree now that Maurice Hooker is garbage?
Oh yeah. We could.
I mean,
we could.
He hasn't left me with much of a choice, bro. To be
say
real
that's
with you,
Bro, you lost to Blair fucking Cobbs.
Based on his last performance, that's a fair assessment.
and he's in a downward spiral because before that fight, even though I don't think he lost bad to Virgil, he didn't lose bad to Virgil, believe it or not. And the reason the fight was stopped, which is weird, is it was because he hurt his hand.
Yep.
It wasn't a cold knockout. It was because he hurt his hand that they stopped the fight.
Yep.
So
I just want to add something. First of all, I completely disagree with her. You need to be petty. You need to be argumentative. You need to be vindictive. The complete opposite. You don't want to block and mute. I want to see you engage, argue, be combative, angry. That's what I'm looking for. No, be toxic. That's what we need from you. That's what I need.
Nah,
but they don't even bring the energy. Like when he tells them, "Hey, I'm having like a boxing talks." Like they don't even come.
No,
so
they don't.
Like they'll go off, on Twitter and blah 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 blah, and then that's the end of it.
Yeah, they don't want
no
part of them on this.
I'll say this that the reason I don't, because I would like to be more petty, and I know that I can. I've done it before. Like you guys should have seen Ring IQ on Facebook. It was so much worse. You have no idea how bad
I do. I started following you because of your pettiness on Facebook.
Listen, bro, I had a guy pull over to the shoulder on the highway to yell into his phone.
Remember, I listened to all of
bad.
it.
It was really bad.
That's the Ring IQ I need.
Yeah, but Jules, y'all remember like not that long ago, like
that's just Jules is a fucking quintessential Capricorn. Instigate like a motherfucker.
Yes.
Push buttons.
I'm gonna say this. Let me say this. The reason I don't do it now is because I figured something out. It actually bothers them more that I don't entertain them. It makes me superior in a way that you're trying to get the reaction and you're not getting it because I'm not giving you what you want. You want to have an argument. You want to have a full-on whole fucking thing. And I'm like, what do I get out of that? Nothing, right? Fuck that.
Jules,
I want to say this. I remember those times of Facebook Lives. I remember Julius saying this shit. You were arguing about something about Lara, Landy Lara.
Oh yeah.
And you say, and I quote, I don't know much about that, but I know I can fuck your mom.
Yo,
15 minutes with your mom.
Oh yeah, it was but on Facebook, it was really bad.
I remember on the Facebook group that one dude that was arguing with you in a debate, and he was screaming at you, and then like his brother came on later and started yelling at you too, and saying, "Don't you say my brother's name?" and all this. Crazy shit. That was hilarious.
Make Ring IQ great again.
Can I add something?
Stop it.
If I could say one thing I enjoy about the debates, I don't know how often you're going to have them, but when you do have debates, it's always like a fascinating and hilarious character. Like you had fucking Emmanuel Stewart's chauffeur on here for some reason, trying to talk about boxing was one of the most surreal things I've ever fucking seen in my life. And then the guy who was supposed to be working for FedEx stopped so he can argue with you. And then you had a guy last week talking, the Duran guy. They're all fascinating people.
He had a guy one time. His brother had dreadlocks, and I think he was high. And he came on the Facebook group and tried to debate Julius. And he, not even a quarter of the way through, Julius roasted him super hard and started making him look really dumb and exposing him. And then people were laughing. And he's like, well, I gotta start somewhere.
I remember that. Jules, I remember that. I remember that.
I remember a long time ago, I saw one of the old vids and you got into it with this guy. He was saying how he was propping up Luis Ortiz, and you said pretty much name Luis Ortiz's resume. I can name it off the back of my hand. You're a term boxing fan, and he's like, well, you got me there. I'm like, yeah, you saying he's number 2 in the division. How the fuck is he number 2?
Well, that was during the Wilder that was during the Wilder and Joshua era, that brief pocket, and I wish I would have been on YouTube then, because there was a lot of money to make at that time, and I didn't even realize it then that I could turn this shit into bread. I could get all of these idiots on there and turn that shit into bread.
Yeah, a debate every now and then as a treat, please. That would be great. If I had to add any.
You would have had a field day back then, man. As many
Well,
people
the other problem is that they're starting to get hip that they don't actually want to have an actual discussion, right?
No, because
they
don't too much.
Yeah, like they don't actually want to discuss the subject in depth without it devolving into insults in a shouting match, because there's nothing to get out of that. We're both just going to end up looking stupid if we do that, because we're all of age. So they don't actually want to debate what it is they're talking about. Like the guy earlier today that I pointed out that George has a rematch clause. Devin's not available for Loma. You see that he tried to bring up anything other than the actual subject at hand. Like, you're not addressing the subject. You're talking about everything else but that.
He even pulled the race card too and said that you just criticize all black fighters and this and that. And it's like, come on, man.
But that's always been the story with Julius. He's always, for whatever reason, they try to put him in that category where, he only uplifts Latino fighters.
That's completely false.
Yeah,
we know that, but once upon a time he was thrown into that category.
I'm still in that category by proxy.
There's something else.
Yeah.
Anytime I hear, I'm gonna post the link. That shit makes me start laughing, because I already know some guy's about to come in here and get embarrassed.
Yeah, there's a lot of money in that, man. You'd be surprised.
I remember there was one dude not too long ago. He was talking about how like he was acting real tough, but then Jules, when you posted the link, he went, "Oh yeah, I gotta go get in the shower."
Yeah, I remember that.
Cat, put that link on him.
Cat, real quick, Cat. I agree with you too, also on this, because I've been saying it.
Yeah.
If he stays focused, Xander Zaya is going to take over the fucking game.
Oh, 100%.
I agree with that.
I like
he just has that smile. He has that natural charisma already.
Yes, he does.
It's not. No, let me say this about Xander. Let me say this about Xander. Espera, esto es lo que Xander tiene that's going to take him all the way. Ese muchacho es humilde y se lo ve en los ojos. Él es humilde. He's not a hothead and unstable like Teofimo, but he has the talent. Y él es humilde, que he looks like, no, él puede aprender. He can be even better than he is now, and it's because él es humilde. He's not an egotistical fighter.
I'm not comparing him to Tito. He just has that charm and that smile like him already. When he's not fighting, when you look at the camera, loves him already.
Yes, and
he's
I
love. He's Ryan Garcia. He's Ryan Garcia without the bullshit.
He speaks Spanish, okay? Ryan Garcia don't speak Spanish.
He's not Danny Garcia.
That's bullshit.
Full conversations in español, so I'm like, he needs to keep that, because he can go, from ESPN in English to ESPN in español, with a flip of a coin. So the fact that he can still engage, that is a huge.
That gives him the inside track to the New Yorkers. That gives him the inside track to Puerto Rico. Danny could never have that, because look, as fucked up as it might sound, as fucked up as it might sound, a Jono Sabo, I don't respect Jono Sabos, bro. I don't respect Ryan. You're not Hispanic to me, bro. Like you know, you're not. I don't know what you are, but you're not Hispanic.
He's American.
He's American, yeah.
American, yeah.
And if the whole marketing angle for a Danny Garcia is, you're the Philly Rican, no, you're the guy from Philly.
Yeah.
Not the Philly. You're the guy from Philly. Like Gabe is more Puerto Rican to me than Danny.
Oh yeah.
Gabe I was just going to say that.
Yeah. Philly Rican. Gabe is a Philly Rican.
Same thing with Berlanga.
Yes, like it's just like, fam, like, nah, you're not like, you ain't the ambassador for Puerto Rico, fam. Like, you really not. Like maybe you the ambassador for Fordham Road or something. Well, not even, because he not from the X. I forgot. No, because he not from the X. He from LES. He from LES. Like, fam, you not even from the Puerto Rico part of New York. You from LES. Like, it's not the same thing, bro. You like one step away from Delancey, where the Leather Jackets is at. And Canal. Like, you not for real.
No, Chino. Yo, that whole area has been
No, he is. He's like a made in China Puerto Rican.
Dímelo, que yo tengo casi como 10 años que yo no he habido, that I haven't been in
Oh
New
my
York.
God. Like, I don't know if you remember, like, back in the day, like, Delancey Street, todo eso allí, like, you could go, get your purses, your shoes, y qué sé yo, okay, for a cheaper price. Todo eso allí. That shit is not how it used to be, bro.
I honestly believe I bought a leather jacket from down there back in like 2000.
Yeah, ya no.
How long you been gone from there, Jules? From the city?
Very, very long time. I got a tick. I got like a tick. I can't move backwards. So like, if I left New York, well, it fucking ain't to be back at New York. You feel me? I'm like, yo, I will find reasons not to go. Cause I'm like, for what? I left, right? Right. So I don't see a point. And based on the things that I'm hearing, one, I know in Washington Heights, they used to have like a little flea market type of deal, sort of like just street vendors, all right there on 181st. I heard they cleared all of that shit out.
Yeah.
I heard that it's kind of going back to the 80s and the early 90s a little bit in terms of the crime. I'm like, see, there's no reason to go back.
The crime's getting really bad in New York.
Yeah, there's no reason to go back to do what? Like to reminisce. I can fucking reminisce on my couch, bro. Fuck that. I'm good. I don't need to go back. I do want to go to Cali though, but I heard Cali's going to shit, so that's out.
It is. That's no secret.
Yeah, I heard Cali's going to shit, bro.
Expensive out here too.
No,
expensive out here too.
Don't even bother. You'll waste your time coming.
It's big enough to where you can escape some of the bullshit.
I heard all the Californians are going to Texas, bro.
Those are all
Everybody's going to Texas, North Carolina, or Georgia.
All the people that moved to California that aren't from here are moving now.
Yeah, like now what I'm looking at, because I don't want to buy a house here. Like I've been playing with the.
Why don't you want to buy a house where you're at?
It's not. How could I put it? It's not a bad area. It's not in terms of the area is bad. It's more like I don't particularly like it. Whereas something in the West is calling me, and I feel like I want to go to Portland. I don't know why, but I just want to go to Portland.
Well, Portland's the new California, so I don't know if that's a place for you to
go.
No,
Portland's worse because they're letting you shoot up heroin on the street.
Well, oh fuck! Wait, Portland is because I read reviews about Portland. I thought
Portland's they decriminalized every drug now, so it's just worse.
And they restricted the cops too. So yeah, don't.
What about Minneapolis?
You better. Well, you're used to winter, so you may.
You'll like Jules. You'll like Washington or certain parts of Oregon because of the
Oregon. That's another, but not Portland though.
No, you'll like Eugene, or you'll like some places in Seattle.
You go to
some places in Washington, not necessarily Seattle.
Seattle's not bad actually.
I mean, I like the sun, but just being a New Yorker, I like when I get to wear my fall shit, bro. I'll be feeling.
Now, here's the thing about Washington. You'll get sun for about 3 months, actual summer, but the air quality because of the rain and all the greenery. It kind of makes up for that because it just smells good up there. You the best air quality you'll get.
But it's expensive, and you pay high taxes though too. So you gotta be aware of that.
He's a New Yorker. He's
from New York. Yeah, he's used to getting.
Yeah, I'm used to taxes. Shit, if anything, the taxes here are actually worse than they are in New York. Believe it or not,
they
might actually be worse.
Move to a second-tier city. Move to a Tacoma. Move to a place that's gonna have people like a Kansas City, just that kind of size.
You'll like if you want to stay out close out west, like I told you, Phoenix too.
Yeah, Arizona.
Yeah, but my wife's not crazy. My wife's not crazy about the heat though. That's the main thing.
They say it's hot, but there's no humidity. But 100 degrees is 100 degrees. I don't give a fuck what nobody says.
It's hot all the time.
It's dry, but every house usually has a pool. So you get used to that.
I heard that there's a season in Arizona where the streets are literally littered with snakes.
Probably, yeah.
I don't want areas when I went for the Valdez Conceição fight. I was in Tucson. It was nice. It was still fucking like 80 degrees the night outside of the fight, but it was still cool.
Show off. You could move to Northern California is good. Like the Sacramento area. That's like a secondary city. That's
Sac ain't that great. I live over here, man. It ain't that great.
You gotta go north of Sac if you want to go. It's nice.
Redding. What about Redding?
Jules, you should actually consider where I live in the city. Where I live. Where I live in the city, nothing happens at all. It's always quiet.
You know what I really you know what I really this is the ideal place that I'm thinking of, and I don't even know if it exists. My daughter was watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, right? And I want to move to like a Sunnydale, where it's like, yeah, it's a town, it's a town, and yeah, there's people, but it's like it's not somewhere that gets a lot of traffic, like a Sunnydale. You know what I mean?
You sound like you want to move to Omaha. Move to Omaha. You described Omaha.
You know what? Check out parts of Utah, maybe.
Utah. I never fucking thought because I want to go out west. I just don't know where.
Utah's good. Colorado.
I was talking about that with my wife the other day. Colorado, but
Colorado's cool and it's got a lot of outdoor stuff, but it's pricey.
Yeah, now it is because weed turned into a cash crop, so it's a lot of shit popping up there where it didn't used to be expensive before. It is now.
What about Nevada? That's not Las Vegas.
In regards to Arizona, northern Arizona has a lot of like forests and trees and snow and stuff. Unlike the southern part, where it's all desert.
Nevada, that isn't Las Vegas, isn't that the fucking desert?
No, yes. What's that other
city? That's
100%
desert.
Yeah.
If I could pitch Charlotte, North Carolina.
And if you complain about snakes in Arizona, you're going to complain about snakes in Nevada.
Well, you're going to get Colorado,
Charlotte,
Mexico.
It's like a semi-big city, but the beach is close by, so it is kind of from the West Coast thing. My parents actually moved. They're Central American immigrants that moved from LA. And everyone from here is fucking from Brooklyn and New Jersey anyway. So you might
Where you at? Where you at?
Charlotte, North Carolina. Everyone here is like a fucking transplant from New York.
Yeah, we're all down, bro. But we brought the fucking crime, bro. Like shit. Like that's how it feels. Like everybody from the north moved a little bit further south, and now we bringing all the fucking crime with us.
You know what it is? You want to get away from the big cities and get to a smaller place.
Idaho, Montana, Wyoming. There you go. You're
good.
Wyoming,
Colorado, and buy yourself a ranch.
Brutal ass winters. You better be able to be prepared.
He's from New York.
I'm not. I am not. There's two states that I will not live in, and that is Wyoming and Iowa. I don't know what the fuck goes on in those places, and I don't want to know.
What's wrong with Iowa?
I don't know what the fuck is over there, bro. That's what's scary. I don't know what's over there.
They got farmland. They got like modern sized cities. They got a lot of fat women. They got a lot of fat women.
Let me tell you, man, the winters over there are super bad. I was trucking. I stopped at a place to fuel up. And it was like snow, and I'm Mr. California, jeans, t-shirt, and tennis shoes. I opened the door to get out of the truck, and the cold bit me. Not just like a little bit; it went all the way to my bone, through the muscle, through
country.
The skin.
Ain't that in the Farm Belt, Iowa? That's part of the Farm Belt, right?
Yeah.
I slammed that shit, bro. I don't want to be in the middle of that shit.
I slammed the door shut and sat there for 15, 20 minutes, working up the nerve to get out of the truck. I get out, I go running into the store, almost fell down, order my fuel, and stayed in the store another 15, 20 minutes because I didn't want to go back out in that cold. It's the coldest I ever felt.
You know what, country, you know what that is? That's character building weather. That's going to build your character.
No, it's not. It's like
I don't need any more fucking I got enough fucking character. Those are the kind of places where you could die and nobody would find out for 15 years.
Yeah, that is Iowa. I mean, that could happen.
Fucking shit. Now, on that note, I'm old and I am going to sleep.
Good night,
y'all.
Good night.
Hey, good night.
Thanks for joining.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks for having me on, Jules. Have a good night, brother.
All right.